I mean, we're not saying the Marine Corps does not have weight issues, but the Marine Corps, generally speaking, is not the service with the biggest problem. And I've heard Air Force generals today talking about it.
Hello, everybody. Happy Tuesday, I think it is, right? Yeah, Tuesday. Hold on, let me just... Good, perfect. So, hope everybody's doing great. Happy Tuesday night. It's currently, what? 9:40 p.m. on the East Coast. We're almost at 10 o'clock, which is about 2 hours before the government shuts down, which it looks like it's going to happen. So, oh, here it goes. Just in. That was 11 hours ago. Just want to see a quick update before we really get started with the stream. Oh, shit. I think they told everybody to get ready for a shutdown at 12. Oh, no, I didn't want to click on that. I don't care about Nicole Kidman getting divorced. But her and were together for 19 years. Now they're getting divorced. Doesn't bode well for normal people. That's turning point. Turning point. Trump doing.
We're going to continue to make clear bigotry will get you nowhere. We are fighting to protect
Fucking got him.
the care of the American people in the face of an unprecedented Republican assault. It's a disgusting video, and we're going to continue to make clear bigotry will get you nowhere. We are fighting to protect the health care.
There was a tweet out that said something about, like, get ready because the government's about to get shut down. Because they were talking about over here, but now they're just talking about
80s and talked about we need to get to our
earlier
warrior
today
roots,
with the
that's
troops
where
and
the
stuff
warrior
with
thing
Trump.
kind of became incumbent within that. Strangely enough, he's also a commandant who
I just want to test the
great
stream out, make sure
commandant,
everything's running
but,
fine.
Was a little heavy set, and I know the Marine Corps,
So you may hear
there
a slight
were
echo because I want to
comments
hear
that were said
how
about that, and I'm sure
I
that he
sound
would
over the video.
probably pointed out if he was there today. But he was a great leader. But it's the idea of being ready for war. And this is a key point. He made it very clear that we need to get ready for war. And I think some of the, if I may, one of the reasons that he's talking about these things is we've done a lot of things in the services. Looking at
Give me 1 second. I just adjusted the volume. Just waiting for the stream to catch up.
Not necessarily focused on our effectiveness in war fighting. And what we're looking at is what we're going to face in a major theater war, a major war with China. The hardships, the demands, physical demands on the troops, and looking at what's going to have to be done. And we're wondering if maybe we put some other issues ahead of that combat effectiveness tool. And in fairness, all right, there are, he talked about women.
Pretty good. So like I said, tonight, about a 2-hour stream. I'm trying to go. I want to go till at least midnight because that's when the government shuts down. I want to be on when that happens.
Female Marines.
So I got a couple things here we can watch.
Who are just as tough.
Like right now, I thought this would be talking more about the government shutdown, but they're talking about the
a 90-pound
a meeting they had today with the generals.
Respects no one.
So
and if you carry 90 pounds worth of gear and you're
that's
smaller,
something,
and it's gonna obviously weigh on you, so to speak, a lot harder than someone who's bigger. And that's just one of the realities of combat. Same thing with artillery shells.
Excuse me. See if anything's live right now with it. The White House is playing this over and over.
How they're going to keep the lights on, how they're going to keep food on the table.
Had the government shut down, hundreds of thousands of people would have not gotten their
government
paychecks.
doesn't shut down because Chuck Schumer and Dollar Store Obama, aka Hakeem Jeffries,
military won't get paid.
They are coming with a bill.
Teachers won't get paid. Our wildfire
or they want
fighters
funding.
Won't get paid. Federal prison guards won't get paid.
A government shutdown.
Their main thing right now, what's holding this all up, is they want They would open the border back up, letting like at least 1 million people a year or something like that, which is ridiculous because we already got fucking 20, 30 million people here already that came illegally during the Biden administration.
Shutdowns cost taxpayers
And they want to give
billions of dollars
your
per
money
year.
and my money
Shutdowns
to cover
cost the
illegal
economy
immigrants' health care.
Billions
And Trump's
of
that's a
dollars.
no-go. Like, that's
They
not even
cost
negotiable. It's not
businesses.
happening.
They could even
So this is where we
cause a
stand now. He's
downgrade
playing
to
this
the
video. It's been playing for
nation's
like an hour or two now.
Families who benefit from WIC and other
That
nutrition programs could see benefits.
How the Democrats are saying the government shutdown wouldn't be great. All they gotta do is vote on the spending bill that's in the it's going through now.
Their SNAP benefits in February.
But they
So
refuse.
that means American children will be going to bed hungry. It's unacceptable.
The longer that this shutdown goes on,
So I believe the Republicans
more
need
Americans
60
will
votes
be
total for it to
affected.
pass, and they only have 53, I think it is, 52.
Shutting down the government should not be a negotiating tactic.
Hostage taking
Miss Pocahontas.
is all they have left. A last gasp of those who cannot cope with the realities of our democracy.
So here's them about the shutdown. And it's going to happen. But we also got a video here.
People hostage instead of just letting them do
This is
their
Mark
jobs,
Dara.
which
He
they
used to
wanna
work
do
for
while
BioWare.
they
He worked there
work
for a
out
long
our
fucking time.
differences.
He worked on Dragon Age series.
So
1, 2, Inquisition.
Democracy. And in a
He worked
democracy,
on the
hostage
original.
tactics
Well, you know,
are the
I'll say that
last
later because I'm going to make a
resort
YouTube
for
video of
those
that.
who
And we have my
can't
boy,
win fights
the
through
Completionist, is back, baby,
can't
after a
win
2-year
their fights
hiatus.
in Congress, can't win their fights for the presidency, and can't win
Ugh.
their fights in the courts.
Trying to see if we can
Government shutdown
find
of any
anything
duration would harm hardworking Americans.
about the shutdown, something that's live. We're out from the Senate. Is this
Wiping
live?
out a $50 billion rural hospital support fund and sending your tax dollars overseas for climate initiatives. In short,
It's all one big giant
Democrats
scam.
want to add $1.4 trillion in new spending to pay for the partisan pet projects that were soundly rejected by the American people last November. Radical Democrats refuse to be reasonable and negotiate in good faith. This reinforces a point that Senator Jack Reed made back in 2013 when he said, quote,
It's all one big
"Forcing the
giant
government
scam.
to
They're
shut
just trying to
down
get away
for
with
reasons
it."
The vast majority of Americans disagree with is a terrible signal and could create undue hardships for families and businesses. This statement is as true now as it was then. Democrats who support the Schumer shutdown are voting to withhold the paychecks of air traffic controllers, our troops, federal custodial staff, and countless other hardworking Americans. As Senator Sanders put it in 2013, quote, "Shutting the government down will disrupt the economy and cost us jobs."
Yep.
Senator Schatz added,
All they gotta do is vote on the bill, and
quote,
it'll all be good to
"Every
go. But instead, they
government
choose to
remains
not because they
closed
want
endangers our economy and
healthcare for
American
illegals, and they
businesses
want
across
also to
the
let
country.
a million. I think it's 1 million illegals a
Bottom
year in.
line, the Democrats have acknowledged that a shutdown is not some political stunt.
And we
As
already
they
got
said, a
about
government shutdown
20,
could disrupt
30 million
national
that snuck
security
in that
by
Biden just let
for
walk right
example,
through. So
disrupting military training
they're
and
not going to get what
recruiting,
they're not going to get it.
disrupting ongoing work to modernize our nuclear forces and creating uncertainty in our defense supply chains. That's hardly a model of peace through strength that Americans have demanded of their elected officials. But rather than listen to the American people, Senator Schumer and the Democrats make their own absurd demands.
Yes, they do.
To make matters worse,
They think they're
the
still calling the
Democrats are
shots.
conflating the budget process with policymaking, an approach that they have long condemned. Senator Murphy perhaps put it best in 2013 when he said, quote, "There is a time and place to debate health care, just like there's a time and place to debate
Are we not even talking about
policy,
healthcare for
immigration,
regular, everyday working
education,
Americans?
but not when the funding
We're
of
talking
the federal
about
government and all the lives
funding
are impacted
illegal
by
immigrants' health care.
hang in the balance. Senator Murphy in 2013, there's a time and place to debate health care, not when the funding of the federal government hangs in the balance.
I want to find some ICE videos too of them,
Enough is enough. Again, in 2013,
but I can't
more
find
than
it. There's a
decade
lot of them
ago,
live
Senator
earlier, but now they're
Klobuchar
not.
called for an end to the, quote, political gamesmanship. Likewise, Senator Blumenthal pledged to, quote, "do everything possible to work with my colleagues to make sure budget brinksmanship and political gamesmanship are halted."
Yeah, there's nothing live with ICE right now.
Solely because of the Democrats, here we are. The political gamesmanship and the budget brinksmanship are are still going on. So let me state clearly, a Schumer shutdown will be carried out at the expense and on the dime of the American people.
About 2 hours away from it, baby.
Remember, it wasn't happenstance that the American people threw
I have to do
radical
shutdown.
Democrats
Good.
out of the Oval Office and congressional leadership last fall.
It saves us so much money, too, taxpayers-wise.
The Schumer shutdown is a last-ditch effort to save face after spending years pushing disastrous policies that led to rising costs.
And he's worried now because he's looking terrible doing this.
Let me leave you with one last quote.
There's rumors
2013. Don't hold the American people
that AOC plans to run for presidency in 2028. But now we're hearing, I don't think that was true at all. She wants to take his seat.
Any guess who said that one?
She's going to run and take his seat.
You got it. Senator Shutdown Schumer.
Yep.
And because
Great
he's
nickname, too,
decided to
Shutdown
move
Schumer.
forward with this Schumer shutdown and has refused to take his own advice, unfortunately, the American people will be left paying the price.
It's going to get crazy. I think the last time this happened was in 2016, 2017 when they shut it down, I believe.
Senator from Massachusetts.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I rise today to seek unanimous consent to pass H.R. 5100, a bill to extend the Small Business Innovation Research and Small Business Technology Transfer programs for 1 year. This bill was unanimously passed by the House of Representatives, led by the Republican chairs of both the House Small Business Committee and the House Science Committee. Hundreds of small businesses have written to Chair Ernst and to me, urging passage of the House bill to avoid ending the program. The National Academies, including Trump's former Undersecretary of Defense for Acquisition, wrote to us urging passage of H.R. 5100. And given that the House will not be in session today, any objection or modification
I was going to stream some more Luigi's Mansion 3 on my Switch 2, but this is just a little bit more important. We'll get back to that tomorrow morning.
Yet here we are, watching the clock expire on one of the most bipartisan and successful small business
Is this live right now or just live from just playing something from earlier?
If we don't pass this bill, more than $4 billion worth of research and development funding for research institutions and small businesses is at stake. SBIR and STTR have led to technologies that have changed American lives. The world's smallest heart pump, new cancer therapies, Alzheimer's treatments, GPS, and Qualcomm wireless communication systems. This program has gone above and beyond the expectations of those who enacted it more than 40 years ago. For every
I don't know
SBIR
if it's
dollar
technically
spent,
like the channel's live, but I don't know if
program
this feed's
returns
live.
$22 to $33 in economic benefits. And this number includes, contrary to recent rhetoric, positive returns on investment from the top 25 companies. 63%
Give it on healthcare
of the
now.
top 25 companies commercialize their technology.
Karen.
In 2024, 60%.
The big story here at 6, the showdown on Capitol Hill. The deadline to keep the federal government open is now just 18 hours away. A meeting between President Trump and lawmakers yesterday resulted in no major breakthroughs.
Yeah, Marissa, if a deal is not reached by midnight tonight, the federal government will
Got
shut
toothpaste
down.
on my shirt.
That means tens
It's
of
gonna shut
thousands
down.
of local federal workers are now at risk of being furloughed or losing their jobs altogether.
We have live team coverage for you on the matter. Maureen Ume is following the potential
Now, if
impact
this
on
does
those
shut
federal
down,
workers, but we're going to start with
it's
Mel
kind of a
Hall,
win-win
who's
for
live on
Trump
Capitol Hill
because
with the latest on the negotiations. Mel.
as president with the shutdown,
Well, the odds are tilting more.
he'll be able to fire
toward
whoever he
actually
wants
having a
with
government
no like
shutdown.
ramifications.
Even if there was
He
a
can just go and fire
compromise
him.
here in the Senate at some point today, House Republicans are not even in town to be able to ratify that. Monday's late afternoon meeting at the White House between Trump and all four leaders in Congress was the first since President Trump got into office. Democrat Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer and House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries hope to convince President Trump to broker a deal. Schumer said Trump did not seem aware that many Americans' health insurance costs are set to skyrocket without a fix. Continuing health care subsidies is one of the Democrats' demands. Republican Senate Majority Leader John Thune and House Speaker Mike Johnson argue those issues can be taken care of after a vote to keep the government funded. Vice President J.D. Vance attended the meeting, too.
We just had a very frank conversation with the Senate and House Democratic leadership. Look, the principle at stake here is very simple. We have disagreements about tax policy, but you don't shut the government down. We have disagreements about health care policy, but you don't shut the government down.
But it's now in the president's hands. He can avoid a shutdown if he gets the Republican leaders to go along with what we want. And if they don't, the American people are going to know they had a partisan bill.
It's not partisan.
That the president's in charge.
Democrats also want to restore cuts to Medicaid.
You want to give illegal aliens health care and make $1 million in a year, I believe it is.
After their budgets have been approved, Republicans say their coalition is firmly against making any changes. Now the clock is starting to run out on this. As I mentioned, there.
We would be stifling potential technology critical to national security.
All right, you know what? We'll come back to this stuff. So we'll go with EA since it just got sold. So EA was just sold for $55 billion to the Saudis, something called Silver Lake Partners, another investment firm, and Jared Kushner, Donald Trump's son-in-law. So this is Mark Dara. He has worked at BioWare for I think close to 20 years. I know he was like really big on the Dragon Age series. Dragon Age Origins 2, 3. Dragon Age Origins 2 and Inquisition. But with Valguard, before it was Valguard, it was like started development. He was working on him and Mike Laidlaw, who also left. But it got canceled. They shut it down completely and had them help make and finish Anthem. So they had to help get that across the finish line. So that got shelved. I believe the first one was codenamed Joplin. The first Dragon Age ended up being Valguard, but the one before that. And then they started again. And somewhere down the line, it got canceled again. So they had to reboot it for a third time, I believe. And by the time that happened, it was being developed with a multiplayer component to it, with microtransactions built into it. But after the big giant hit that was Star Wars Jedi Survivor was the first one, or Jedi Order, I forget what it's called. The one with the Cal Kestis, the first one, how that did so great as just a single player game. They allowed BioWare to go in and rip out all the microtransactions, but you still had that like game set up to be like that style. So they had like a microtransaction type of game, live service game already set up. And they stripped it of that stuff, but you still had the bones of a live service game. So Valguard was like destined to fail no matter what, because it was just terribly terrible. Like it was just a horrible development cycle. And then you had Corinne Bush come in, and he just completely destroyed it, big time, and put the fucking final nail in the coffin with all the transgendeology stuff and all the woke stuff, the trans stuff, the gay stuff. It wasn't Dragon Age. It was all lighthearted, and the art style was fucking terrible. The writing was horrible, and it was like such terrible dialogue, man. But he worked there for 20 years. He left during the second iteration of Valguard, I believe. But then he came back later on as a consultant. But this is him talking about EA being sold and would it could mean for the future of BioWare. I personally think that, I don't know, they're in the hook for $20 billion debt, so they got to make that up. They have the sports franchises, which will do fantastic. You know, your Madden, FIFA, NHL is still pretty good too. I like NHL. It's my favorite one of the three. But Madden's second, FIFA's first, and NHL's third, because FIFA makes them a ton of fucking money because it's just such a giant global sport. But especially now with like the Middle East involved, they can make it even bigger. But like I said, he worked there for like I think 20 years. So we'll hear what he has to say about it
this morning. So let's talk about what seems to be happening and see if we can figure out the consequences this will have to the games that EA makes. I am not a financial analyst, I've talked about the fact that any attempt that I've ever made to predict what a stock is going to do has been wrong, even when I've tried to take my wrongness into account. So definitely do not make any
I just want to check too real quick to see how I sound over the stream again real quick.
Based upon anything
just so you
say
might hear an
today.
echo real
The
quick.
reality is that seems to be happening, and see if we can figure out the consequences. That EA's been looking to change its corporate structure for a while. I'm pretty sure Plan A was the merger with NBC Universal, but this looks to be a Plan B. First of all, the players in this are obviously EA, but then three big financial players. There is Silver Lake, who does a lot of investment in tech companies. Affinity Partners, which is Jared Kushner's investment firm that does a lot of investment.
Yep, see, Jared Kushner, Trump's son-in-law, bought in.
Money. And finally, Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, which is Saudi Arabia's attempt to diversify their economy by 2030 to move away from oil. The Saudi Public Investment Fund already owns about 10% of EA, which will be rolled over into the resulting deal. At current valuations, that's about $5 billion of the $55 billion. Another $20 billion is going to be debt that's taken on. If you've heard the term leverage buyout and you don't know what it means, what that means is that debt is going to be taken on as part of the event, and then that debt is going to go onto the EA's going.
Let me start again because I want to make it sound a little bit better. Hold on. It's being a YouTube video anyway, so don't even worry about it. Like, cut it, make it into a YouTube video. So, like I said, Mark Dara worked at BioWare for 20 years. See what he has to say about the whole acquisition.
Going private for about $55 billion. We have more details released this morning, so let's talk about what seems to be happening and see if we can figure out the consequences this will have to the games that EA makes. I am not a financial analyst. I've talked about the fact that any attempt that I've ever made.
He also said, like, I like Mark Dara. He's a good dude. I think he's a great developer. But he also said, he came back and said that, see, I don't know if he's just saying because he had to, but he was only a consultant, so he shouldn't have had to. He was saying, like, this was like the best Dragon Age they ever, before the game came out. This is the best Dragon Age we ever made. I truly feel that way. And not even only was it the worst fucking Dragon Age ever made, it was one of the fucking worst games I've ever played.
To predict what a stock is going to do has been wrong, even when I've tried to take my wrongness into account. So definitely do not make any investment decisions based upon anything I say today. The reality is that EA's been looking to change its corporate structure for a while. I'm pretty sure Plan A was the merger with NBC Universal, but this looks to be a plan.
See, I didn't know they were actually planning to merge with NBC Universal. I wonder what that would look like. I gotta check that out. Maybe you can find that details online. I'll look later. But obviously it didn't happen. They went with the Saudi fund and Jared Kushner for $55 billion. And I think, see, I heard it was like one of the biggest acquisitions ever. Apparently it's the biggest like acquisition ever. Like ever. Which is fucking crazy for a video game company.
B. First of all, the players in this are obviously EA, but then three big financial players. There is Silver Lake, who does a lot of investment in tech companies. Affinity Partners, which is Jared Kushner's investment firm that does a lot of investment, often backed by Middle Eastern money. And finally, Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, which is Saudi Arabia's
I don't know what the hell that means.
To diversify their economy by 2030 to move away from oil. The Saudi Public Investment Fund already owns about 10% of EA, which will be rolled over into the resulting deal at current.
Now, the Saudi Arabia Fund, not only do they now they're co-owners of EA, but they also own about I think 5% of Nintendo. Or maybe 8% of Nintendo, like 5% of Take-Two, and 5.1% of Capcom too. So the Saudi Arabian fund has their hands all over gaming right now, and esports too. Like they're really trying to make video games and stuff, I guess, popular there, or they just see good investments. I don't know, but they got their hands everywhere.
Valuations. That's about $5 billion of the $55 billion. Another $20 billion is going to be debt that's taken over. If you've
they got $20
heard
billion in debt.
the term leverage buyout and you don't know what it means, what that means is that debt is going to be taken on as part of the event, and then that debt is going to go onto the balance sheet of the company that's taken over. So after this closes, if it closes, EA is going to have an additional $20 billion worth of debt on their balance sheets. Obviously, adding $20 billion to your balance sheet is going to require you to pay a lot of interest. If we look at EA's current
what the fuck is the interest on $20 billion?
Financials,
especially with these interest rates right now too. Oof.
They're netting out about $1.2 billion.
I didn't realize that he has a Dragon's Inquisition dragon back there. This is a little side tangent. I can't stand dragons in fantasy that are like this, where they have the first the claws. They shouldn't have these claws. It should just be wings and back legs. I can't stand that shit. It drives me nuts. Like the dragons, like in Game of Thrones, those are dragons. I hate these kind of dragons. It's just it drives me nuts. Anyway, let's go.
If that $20 billion is sitting at a 5% interest rate, that's $1 billion of interest that needs to be paid every year just to service that debt. So the company, as it currently stands, is in a dangerous position. Not perhaps as dangerous as what happened when Toys R Us got taken over in a leverage buyout.
Toys R Us ended up coming back.
Not a lot of room to play with there. If interest rates go up or a game does a little bit worse, you only have about $100 million.
Interest rates will start coming down more. They already did 25 basis points. We'll see more cuts.
Of leeway in order to keep your head above water. Have all this debt we now need to service, so you're going to look to save some money. Good news, by going private, you actually are going to save some money simply by not having to have investor relations people, to have the giant accounting group that's necessary to prepare your finances for your public statements. So there are savings that come simply from the act of going public. Is that hundreds of millions of dollars? No,
a lot of cost cutting.
But it's something. But additionally, especially for a company as historically financially conservative as EA, you're going to be looking for additional cost savings. And for a company where the majority of your costs come from people, that is likely...
He's going to get to it, but here's what they're going to do. They're going to start cutting people. You're going to see a whole bunch of studios just get completely fucking gutted. I'm talking like 45, 50% of some staff are going to be gone. And I'll tell you right now, it's all you DEI activists that got hired and the Karens that got hired who don't know what the fuck they're doing only got hired because their race, gender, and sexual orientation. You're fucked. You're all getting fired, especially with the Saudis in charge. They don't play with any of that stuff. You're all gone. So go check McDonald's. Maybe they're hiring.
Going to mean layoffs and studio closures.
There's already rumors now that they want to cut a bunch of the devs, and instead of hiring new ones to take their spot, they'll hire some new ones to take their spot, but a lot of it's going to be whatchamacallit, what's the word I'm looking for? They're going to be, instead of hired new devs, they're going to just have AI do those jobs. So it's the future, baby.
And a dramatic reduction in people. I'm going to throw some very broad numbers, mainly for ease of math. If you use a fully loaded number of $200,000 per person for a full-time staff member, which is actually low in some places and high in others, but it's a good ballpark because that means if you let go of 5 people, you save $1 million a year. Then if you lay off
a lot of money.
500 people, then you save $100 million a year in salary and other
I believe
costs.
some of their studios are in Canada where it's extremely fucking expensive to operate. Where he worked, BioWare is in Edmonton. Like I think it's Edmonton. Is Edmonton a city or is it in Alberta? Hold on. I believe Edmonton is just like its own territory. No, it's a city in Alberta. Yeah, I was right. So it's extremely probably cheap to live there. And it's a more conservative area too. For like all of Canada, it's actually like a conservative area. That was one of the places people were talking about how remember when Trump was talking about buying Canada to make it the 51st state? Alberta was seriously considering doing that. They're a more conservative part of Canada than the rest. But like I said, Edmonton, Alberta, it's a fairly cheap place to operate. So I think that's, good for BioWare so far.
A year when you are now having to pay $1 billion to service your debt makes your situation a lot more
$20 billion
stable.
debt, just the interest
moves you
alone.
from only having $150 million of buffer to
like
almost
6 or 7% interest on that loan.
So that becomes a pretty attractive route to consider. So chances are one of the consequences of this is that there are going to be changes at EA in terms of structure, in terms of the games that they're making. When you look at the investments that the Saudi group has been making before now, they've been buying a lot of sports-related things.
Yep.
EA, which is now broken into two different groups.
The Saudis
EA
love
Sports and
soccer.
EA Entertainment. Half of that makes a ton of sense. EA Sports makes a ton of sense fitting into that portfolio of.
I think they try to
investing
spend
in
like a
sports
bunch of
franchises,
billions and billions of dollars to get
investing
Ronaldo to
in
play
entire
there.
Leagues of sports, trying to turn Saudi Arabia into a destination for sports and sports-related things. They've also been investing in esports and other entertainment and video game-related properties. Definitely EA Sports and some of the more competitive aspects of the EA Entertainment portfolio make a lot of sense. Additionally, EA Sports is where most of the cash is thrown off from the game-making business. 75% of EA's money last
Especially
year
those
was made
microtransactions.
through live services. A ton of that were the Ultimate Teams from FIFA or Football Club and Madden. Speculation, but I wouldn't be surprised to find out that the Saudi Public Investment Fund is looking to maybe even acquire the FIFA organization and bring it under their umbrella. If
They're
were to
trying.
do
They
so,
probably are trying to do
suddenly
that.
Football Club can go back to being FIFA.
They got the
Not sure
money.
how much of a difference it
I
makes,
think
but
the
it could be
reporting
part
is
of
that they
who's
have
trying to-
that Saudi fund, the PIF, Public Interest Fund, I think it's called. I forget. But apparently they have over $900 billion in a war chest to play around with. So they could buy literally anything they want. That's fucking crazy to think about. They could buy literally anything they want to buy. Holy fuck.
The Saudi government has been accused of sports washing, essentially going out and acquiring sports teams and events and other publicly facing things that occur in their country.
Like I said, they try to spend a couple billion to get Ronaldo to come there, but I don't think he did.
Some of the legitimate
I'm not a
human
soccer
rights
guy, so I'm not
violations
sure.
that
I
have
just
been
remember hearing that
leveled
story.
against the country. It's hard to imagine that acquiring a $55 billion media company, which is ultimately what EA is, won't play into that effort, won't be used in some way to further their own political goals in terms of public perception of the country. If the goal here is to generate cash flow, the sports part of the organization, pretty good at that. It generates pretty consistent cash flow. It's relatively mature. It's not growing super fast, but it definitely generates cash. So it seems like that part of the organization is very safe. When we look at the EA Entertainment part of the business, then we have to ask some other questions. I suspect games like Apex Legends, still interested. They still generate a consistent
Any kind of live service
revenue
game.
source. With the Battlefield team, I guess we will see what happens with Battlefield 6.
That'll do
but
good.
If Battlefield 6 is as successful as it is expected to be, we continue to see Battlefield games. Historically,
There's a new rumor out that they want to take a couple of studios, maybe just at DICE alone, and split into like 2 or 3 different studios, and just have them cranking out Battlefield games every year like Call of Duty. This year, Battlefield 6 coming out and Call of Duty Black Ops 7, I think it is. I don't even know what the hell they're on this now, Call of Duty. Call of Duty has been getting a lot of flack lately for just how fucking absurd that game has become. Like, you can play as Nicki Minaj and shit, and like have like Beavis, you can play as Beavis and Butthead, I think, in the game. I'm not sure. I don't play Call of Duty, but a lot of fans were bitching before even Battlefield 6 came out. They were bitching how they want to just return to like a cool ass military shooter, and that's exactly what Battlefield 6 is doing. So I still think Call of Duty will be the highest selling game this year, like always, but Battlefield 6 is gonna be right on their fucking tail. I bet. Watch. It looks. I played the beta and it felt. And I don't play these kind of games like first-person shooters. Not my thing. But I played the beta because everybody was talking about it and hyping it up, and I had a lot of fun. Not gonna lie. It was hard as fuck, and I died a million fucking times, but I had a lot of fun. So, like I said, still think Call of Duty is gonna be that top, seller every year. But Battlefield 6 is gonna be right behind them, and they're gonna, they're catching up.
Sims has been a good revenue source, confusingly understood by the EA organization, but a consistent source of cash. Does The Sims fit into potentially the messaging desires of the three groups that are involved in the acquisition? Potentially not, but it's potentially not super out of position. But then the remainder of EA, the other parts, the other development houses, the other groups that haven't shipped anything in a while or have shipped things that didn't do very well, so the groups working on the Marvel games and, of course, BioWare.
Oh, yeah, make an Iron Man game.
I think going to be
that was still in development.
Different position.
They'll put that out.
If this
it's Marvel.
is a PR move for the Saudi government as much as it is a financial one, the studios that don't have much of a track record, what you might do is just come.
They're also working on a Black Panther game, I think. And that was led by a bunch of like DEI devs and like SJWs. I think some of them used to work at Sweet Baby Inc. And of course they didn't know what the fuck they were doing. They're just hired because they were like trans and all that weird shit. But I remember EA went to go check on it, and they were pissed about how far behind it was development-wise. They ended up canceling the game outright and closing the whole fucking studio down because they were just so far behind development-wise. Because these people got hired, not based on skill or merit, but based solely on skin color, race, and gender ideology, which is just a fucking stupid... We're seeing it now. The entire video game industry is fucking collapsing on its face. And they're all getting bought out by Saudi Arabia and China. It's like crazy. Like Ubisoft, they went completely woke, destroyed their company. Now they're owned by China. EA, same fucking story. Now they're owned by the Saudi government. It's crazy because back in like 2017, 2018, especially in 2020, it really ramped up. A lot of these companies, and still across the board, media, movies, TV, streaming, games, everything. BlackRock and Vanguard were giving these guys big, giving them out, basically loans, either very low interest loans or just grants to hire a bunch of these DEI individuals. So of course the big giant corporations took that money and hired them. But in 2022, the entire economy shit the bed and we went to a recession and interest rates freaking skyrocketed. So that BlackRock and Vanguard money went bye-bye. So now EA, Ubisoft, all these people were on the hook now for these developers who couldn't do shit. So now they're stuck with them and they're not getting any money for them anymore, and they can't develop games, so they just completely fucking just crashed their studios. So we had Ubisoft split off and start a whole new company with Tencent, a giant Chinese fucking conglomerate, and now EA being sold to the Saudis.
On the scale,
crazy.
And push their
Gaming's
messaging
completely different than it was
about
about 5 years ago.
Directions that make you look good, or at the very least steer them away from messaging that make you look bad. But for the studios that have more of a track record, especially a track record that maybe doesn't line up with your own political views, again, BioWare, you're going to look at that studio and wonder how you make them fit into your new structure. It's hard to imagine that you have BioWare pivot from having very progressive messaging to having the reverse, because it's what the government wants. It's hard to imagine that the public perception of a game that comes out of BioWare, even if you do that, isn't apocalyptically bad. So in that case, you either have to decide that you're willing to just leave it alone, or you have to think that they don't fit anymore within the goals of this new organization. Now, I don't know how active this Saudi investment fund has been in pushing its politics into the groups.
So, my cat's behind me. So, with BioWare, with the Mass Effect and Dragon Age franchise, well, right now, as far as we know, Dragon Age is dead. And there's no plans to ever make another one again after what Vanguard did. How fucking terrible it was. But, I mean, in Mass Effect, you had same-sex romances. In Dragon Age, you had same-sex romances plus transgender characters. And with the Saudi government in charge now of the future of these franchises, if they decide to keep the IP, which I think they will, because I watched a video before, he talked about that EA wasn't very, I could see them selling Dragon Age, but they were very keen, like very favorable towards Mass Effect. They really liked that franchise. So I think they hold on to Mass Effect, but seeing like transgender characters in Mass Effect, that ain't happening. And they might even scale back big time or even cut altogether gay relationships, which I'm fine with all that. Just make it a great ass game and stop pandering to these weirdos. But as far as I know, the Dragon Age franchise, even if the Saudis didn't buy it, it was dead and buried. They didn't want anything to do with it after Valkyrie was doing so terrible, which sucks because you could make a great game out of that. I could see them holding on to it and turn it into something different, just because it's kind of like a dark fantasy, kind of like Game of Thrones, and that's still a giant, huge IP. So I mean, it's a global phenomenon. So I can see them taking Dragon Age and kind of spinning it into more of a Game of Thrones like game with like the dark fantasy. Go back to that, make it a little bit more grounded, not as fantastical, and just kind of like copy Game of Thrones basically. I can see them doing that with Dragon Age to save the franchise and revitalize it or basically reboot it into something different. But I know he said before in a thing because he was interviewing somebody about the two franchises that EA really, really likes the Mass Effect franchise. And as far as I know, right now they're still working on the next game. And the guy heading the next Mass Effect game, Mike Gamble, he's somebody you can trust with the franchise. He's a great developer. As far as I know, I've been following him for years. He worked on the original Mass Effect games. So like 1, 2, and 3. So he's a big industry veteran. He doesn't push any of that transgender DEI nonsense. He's just a regular dude who likes to make video games. So as of right now, I think it's still in good hands, Mass Effect 5. And it's a very small team working on it. And they said, like I said, they're going to start with a small team and ramp up as they need to progress the game. So they're not going to just, hire fucking 200 devs to work on it. We're going to work on it slowly and build it up. And as they go, if they need to hire more devs, that's what they'll do.
That it invests in. Sometimes these investment funds are very active. Sometimes they are very hands-off. I'm not actually aware enough of the actions that they've taken to know one way or the other, but it is going to be a factor going forward.
God, I love
In
Monsters.
the past, I've talked about
Monster, if you're watching this,
EA doesn't
sponsor
sell
me.
IPs, and the reason for that
There's a nice little monster
in
fish in the
large
back. That'd be
part
nice.
because the individuals who would be responsible for making those decisions, for looking for those opportunities, are actually incentivized to not take risks. That they are incentivized to not be the person who sold an IP that then turned into $1 billion franchise. That their actual incentives are to
kind of like not 1-to-1, but it's kind of like this. I don't know if you watch football, but the New York Giants, they were a shitty fucking team. They had an all-star running back named Saquon Barkley, and I think they were trying to sign him, but they couldn't figure out a deal and they didn't want to trade him, but they were kind of had to. And there's a video of it online. I think it's the GM at the time of the Giants. He might still be the same GM. I don't know. But he was like, if he goes to Philly, I'm going to be pissed. What happens? He comes to Philadelphia, has a fucking amazing, I think in his first year with us. I think it was his first year with the Eagles. He had a fucking amazing season. Yeah, I think last year was his first year. And we won the fucking Super Bowl with him. So, like, that's the kind of like 1-to-1. Like, imagine you saw Dragon Age is shit right now. It's sold less than, I think, 1 million copies. When they had announced the numbers, it didn't sell. No surprise. And another big thing was EA, the FIFA, aka Football Club, that had weaker sales too. I don't know if he meant weaker sales because they hadn't, like, when they do the quarterly reports. I don't know if it was weaker sales or weaker microtransaction sales. But either way, it's bad. And the combination of those two things caused them to lose $6 billion in market cap valuation. And in one day, their stock tanked 17%. So, like I said, Dragon Age is dead right now. But imagine you sell it to like PlayStation or Xbox or Tencent and they make a big, giant, global fucking hit out of it. Now, you look like a fucking idiot for selling it.
do nothing, because that keeps them from getting into trouble.
Say.
But as this deal closes, those incentives could radically change. We could enter into a situation where now the incentives are to shed costs or generate revenue, if at all possible. We need to generate revenue to pay down as much debt as we can as quickly as we can. We need to cut costs to
There'll be a lot of cost cutting coming.
More wiggle room to make sure that we are not in a dangerous position.
And the deal is supposed to go through in 2027.
When servicing our debt. So suddenly, people who have spent their careers trying to keep their heads down and not do anything that might get them in trouble in the future might suddenly find themselves in a situation where what they really need to do is sell as much as they can. EA has a huge repository of dormant IPs.
Yeah, they do.
They're just sitting there dormant. It seems unlikely that the new resulting structure is going to be eager to suddenly revive a bunch of those IPs. So one option might be to sell the whole lot of them for $100 million if you could get it, because $100 million can
It's $100 million, yep.
You might even see them toying with the idea of shedding some of their existing studios. Maybe they shut them down, but maybe they look for opportunities to sell off entire studios or entire groups. Like I said, it makes a ton of sense for this new group to want
that's what's going to happen.
Whole and strong and continuing doing what it's doing. EA Entertainment, the other group that is focused on other kinds of more traditional non-sports related games.
What I think is going to happen is they're going to keep BioWare, because like I said, it's stationed in Alberta, Edmonton, which isn't a very costly place to do business. Sci-fi is a big popular category, so they can use them to make Mass Effect. And so I think what they're going to do is keep all the sports studios and make the sports games, continue making these Star Wars games because it's such a fucking huge IP, and make Mass Effect games. And that'll be their core pillar: the sports games, Star Wars, and then Mass Effect every now and then. That's what I think is the future for EA right now.
May make
and they'll probably sell the Dragon Age license, I think.
A lot less sense. So you could imagine potentially all of EA Entertainment being sold off to another group with deep pockets, like, say, Sony. This deal has been in the works for a while. It is conceivable.
And there's new rumors out now that Sony wants to ramp up buying IP to really build up their, like, IPs. They want to buy some more IPs.
His new structure was intentionally conceived with this action in mind. Or you could imagine that what happens is this new EA plucks all the parts it wants out of EA Entertainment and then sells off whatever's left over. And so what you end up with is this collection of studios that either haven't shipped a game ever or in a long time, and studios which have had a lot of trouble, or studios that make games that are expensive to make,
BioWare.
Or studios that simply make the kind of games that this new company isn't interested in making.
Fuck,
anymore.
BioWare hasn't had a hit game since 2012.
It makes a lot of financial sense to try to sell those off. Is that going to happen?
Anthem
has
sucked.
A lot of momentum.
Andromeda
not
sucked.
Doing that.
Valgar was terrible.
But we are in a new world now, and there's going to be new people at the table who actually do have experience with that sort of thing, who may push for that sort of thing. Does that mean that suddenly the Dragon Age IP is going to be up for sale, or that BioWare is going to be sold off, or that some of these other studios are going to be spun out?
If they do sell it, I don't think people want to buy studios. They want to buy IP.
And given their freedom, or buyers are going to be found? I don't know. I guess we'll find out as time goes on. But it's incredibly unlikely that EA stays exactly as it currently is in a private structure, especially carrying $20 billion worth of debt. Now, you're
going to see huge layoffs across the board.
Positive for a video game company going private. Public companies, especially North American public companies,
no more quarterly earnings report.
Report their earnings every quarter. They have to give financial guidance. They have to
and they have to hit these quarterly earnings every quarter and have to show that they're making a profit. And it's I think Trump said he wants to do away with it because it's too much stress on a company to just every quarter to earn more and more and more. It's almost like it's so hard to do it. And a lot of these companies, like in video games, that do it now, they're just cutting staff. That's how they're doing it. Look at Microsoft. They've been doing it like crazy. They're just cutting staff because they brought on so much fucking at the integration of Activision Blizzard, and I don't think things are planning out the way they wanted to right now. So they just keep cutting staff. So each quarterly earnings report, it looks like they're making more and more money. It's a stupid fucking process.
Release their financials on a very short-term basis. And the reality is, traditional video game development doesn't work that way.
No, it takes like 4 or 5 years to make it.
Flows. You have games that take
4 or 5, 6 years
to develop.
Yep.
And so they show up as a ongoing cost that's just constantly being a cost. And then they release in this burst of revenue, and then that revenue dwindles away, and then you go for many years, and then there's another burst of revenue.
Yeah.
One of the reasons why video game companies love live services so much is that
continuous
it
flow of
out
money.
Their revenue. Like I said earlier, 75% of EA's revenue is currently coming from live services.
Microtransactions.
In a private company, you don't need to report your financials on a quarterly basis. You don't need to report your financials
at all.
There are people, obviously, who are interested in the company making money, but they can decide individually on their own terms what they want to see. If they want to see a studio go dark for 25 years in order to investigate some sort of radical new way to develop games, they can do that. Whereas as a publicly traded company, that's a very hard pitch.
Maybe hear the
to
train in
make.
the background.
I think you can attribute a lot of the ills of AAA video games to the fate of publicly traded companies.
Yep.
To this line must go up, very short-term, 3-month focus on the way that revenue works. It makes it difficult to slip games. It makes it difficult to try new things. It makes the studios very risk averse. It makes the studios very focused on the wrong time horizons. So a private EA has the possibility, at least, to think about video game development in a different way. You could imagine a world where you have EA Sports generating revenue, being this source of cash, servicing the debt, and paying
then you
money
take your time with
into
single player
whatever
games to make them as
structure
best as they can
formed.
and release them
And
and
then
make a
on
ton
the
of fucking money.
And EA Entertainment being tasked with something different. Still making money, but with different time horizons. Maybe simply with the goal of making games that sell the most that they possibly can sell, regardless of when they release. Or making games that make EA look good, because maybe it becomes a PR arm, or a multitude of other potential goals that could be placed on EA Entertainment in this new structure. Because now you're in a conversation with a few private owners as opposed to with the stock market. And that conversation can take a very different cadence. Will
All
it?
true.
I don't know. As I said, we don't really know what the goals of this acquisition actually are. So is this a good thing or a bad thing? In the short term, it almost definitely means a bunch of layoffs in game studios,
across the
but
board.
Also in financial and PR roles. EA is going to shed a bunch
They're basically going to reboot their entire
definitely bad.
company.
In the medium term, it might mean studio closures, or it might mean studios being sold off, or IPs being sold off, which could be a good thing. In the long term, it's probably good for whatever EA still exists after all the dust settles. Because by being a private company, they are able to approach their financials in the way that best suits the way the business is being run. But it's very unclear at this point what that resulting EA.
It's all supposed to go through in 2027. So for the next, well, basically out of 25. So all of 26. Don't expect any kind of like big game announcements, like single player wise or anything like that. You're just gonna get your Madden, your FIFA, and your NHL.
EA actually looks like. It could allow for an EA that does more experimentation and allows game teams to take longer to release their games, resulting in better games. But it might also result in EA really focusing only on games that have very long, lucrative tails that spin off a lot of cash. We simply don't yet know what it's going to look like in the long term. So should you be hopeful? There is hope to be had here, but
I'm optimistic.
It's going to definitely be painful before that hope is going to come to fruition. If this deal goes through, this will, I think, be the largest leverage buyout of
ever.
all time.
55
I'm not sure that
billion.
that is a title to be proud of, but it is a big deal. Is this deal likely to go through? Yeah, I'm pretty confident this deal is going to go through. It definitely helps when you have the president's son-in-law involved in the deal-making process. The only things that likely would torpedo it would be some dramatic change in the financial situation, like interest rates massively spiking
They're
or
not.
some other thing that causes one of the partners
In fact, they're
to
gonna
not
come
have
down.
money anymore, or something that makes it undesirable from EA's standpoint, though I can't imagine what that would actually be. Special thanks to my members. They provide the resources that this channel needs to keep running. If you're interested in becoming a member,
Guess he's
there's
a
a link to
Patreon.
that down in the description. We also have a Patreon if you're more interested in supporting the channel in that way. Both patrons and channel members get access to our Discord. So if you're interested in interacting with this community to a deeper level, that's a great way to do it. Also, at the higher tiers, patrons and channel members get early access to the videos. You wouldn't have gotten this one too much earlier, but sometimes the videos are up weeks, even months before they finally go live. So another reason to support the channel is to get early access to videos. What are you thinking right now? Do you think it's going to change anything? Do you think it's going to be good? Do you think...
Here's what I think happens. Goes through, they get all the IP. They are going to cut staff like fucking crazy. They're probably going to cut about 45% of the entire staff, I bet, across the entire fucking EA studios. They're going to definitely keep the sports games. You're going to have your FIFA, your Maddens, and your NHL. That's going to continue to roll out like clockwork with the live service built into them. I think they hold on to BioWare because, like I said, Alberta, Edmonton is not an expensive place to live or to probably develop games. Like, to run a business is probably not that expensive to be there. Small city, but they're already working on Mass Effect 5. So I think if they have a good foundation, they show it to the new owners, I think they will continue to let them develop the game. But I feel like they're going to end up putting microtransactions in the game. Not like pay to win, but more like cosmetics to, like, you know, put a plant in your ship or put a trophy over here. You can buy this model. Like, remember Mass Effect 2 and 3? You can get like the ship models. They might make them optionally like microtransaction wise, like to buy them real currency. They could do that. I don't know if they will, but they could. So like I said, they're already starting to work on the Mass Effect, so that's good. Dragon Age, they're not working on that. And the last game that came out, Valgar, was a complete and utter embarrassing failure. So like I said, I can see them trying to reboot it into something different, more along the lines of Game of Thrones. But it might be hard to bring that to your bosses and say, listen, we have this fantasy IP that's also, you know, Game of Thrones is a big fantasy thing. We also have our own little fantasy thing. And we could make a big, giant, open world Game of Thrones game type of game with it. But then you had to explain to them that we had this other one too called Valgard that was an utter failure. So they might be like, maybe, but you already had a game like that and it was a complete and utter failure. So we might not, we're a little skeptical to launch another one because the other one did so fucking terrible. So it's up in the air. But I think, like I said, you're going to keep the sports games. They might even try to make their own kind of live service game, another one. Take the time making it. But that market's dried up. The whole live service, looter shooter type of thing, that's gone. It's done. It's too late to catch up and make a Fortnite. It's done and over with. So to keep the sports games going, that's a steady flow of income constantly. You can work on your single player games, your Star Wars, Jedi, whatever's next on the side, along with Mass Effect. Like I said, I think what they're gonna do really to save and like a lot of money is they're going to cut a bunch, like the DEI devs, the activists that got hired, and the Karens. You're fucked. You're gone. Goodbye. So they can get rid of all those people and actually keep the devs that are actually talented, and maybe hire some new ones that actually know what the fuck they're doing to make the games. Because you could probably make a good Mass Effect open world type of game in 3 or 4 years, and probably do it cheap too. Maybe they'll stop using Frostbite for everything too. So like, well, you got Madden, FIFA, NHL, and Battlefield 6. So you got 4 games there that can provide you a steady flow of income throughout the whole year. And then you like with Mass Effect, like I said, they're already working on that. So if like I said, I trust Mike Campbell with his visions. So he can do that on the side and probably have a small team develop that. Because the thing with Mass Effect, the next game doesn't have to be fucking amazing to succeed. It just has to be good. Like the next Mass Effect needs to be like an 8 or 9 out of 10, which I think they can do because Andromeda was so fucking bad. Anything above that will basically revitalize the franchise. So in the end right now, I think they cut a bunch of staff. All the DI activists and Karens are gone. They'll hire some actual devs at the studios, but they'll also replace a bunch of the ones they fire with AI. So if they fire, say, I don't know, 2,000 employees across the board, they might hire 900 back, or maybe say 1,000, and the other 1,000 fill that role with AI to save money. They'll continue to work on Madden, FIFA, NHL, and Battlefield 6 as their steady flow of income for the live service, microtransactions, and then work on like the next Star Wars game and Mass Effect game on the side, and take about 3 or 4 years to do that and put it out. So I think that's the future of EA right now. But I mean, let me know what you guys think. All right. Too many things going on with the government. I like this guy, Depressed Ginger. He's really good. Check his channel out. Let's watch him for a second.
Go to the gym.
I like him. He's real good.
I'm actually in good shape and stuff, and so I don't have to go to the gym. If you're fat, you should go to the gym. Things like that. I recommend it for people. Are you happy for Bad Bunny? I don't even know what that is. It's
Bunny's
Mexican or some
stupid. I had NFL Plus, the subscription for the NFL Network because I like to watch. Dude, I watch Red Zone, and they started putting fucking ads in Red Zone. I was paying $15 a month for NFL Plus, and I was watching the game the other Sunday, and I got a fucking. It wasn't like a full commercial, but like it's like. See, I'll do it with a mouse. Here's the screen you're watching the game on, like all this stuff right here, up here and over, like. Zoomed in and played a fucking ad. It was like a fucking minute ad too for like so I saw the screen here but it got smaller, and it was like a 7 shape here. It came down and had like an ad for DraftKings. It was like a minute. I'm like, dude, what the fuck? And then I saw Bad Bunny's playing the fucking Super Bowl. I said, dude, who the fuck is Bad Bunny? I didn't even know who it was. And I looked it up. Dude's a weirdo, and he's a Spanish singer. Football's an American sport. No one's gonna want to sit there. No one's gonna know what the hell he's saying. So I canceled my NFL Plus subscription. I'm done with the NFL. I'm not going to watch it anymore. I still have Amazon Prime, so I'll catch the Thursday night game every now and then. And I also have, I don't have it. My sister has it. She's like a Disney. I don't have any subscriptions at all. The only subscription I have is YouTube Premium. And because I got to deal with it. I've had YouTube Premium for years. It's the only one I like because that's all I watch is YouTube. And it's great not having commercials. I haven't seen a commercial on YouTube since like 2013, I think. But it's like $15 a month, I think it is now, or $12 a month. My phone service, I have Verizon, and they had a deal where you get YouTube Premium if you tack it onto your bill. It was like $9 a month, so I went with that. So I only pay $9 a month, and I get YouTube Music, which I used to have Apple Music. I canceled that, and so why am I paying for 2 different subscription services when I have Apple Music for $11 a month? But I also have YouTube Premium, which has YouTube Music. So I just use that now. But like I said, only subscription service I had HBO Max for a little bit just because I want to watch House of the Dragon because I'm a huge love Game of Thrones. I've read all the books. I don't know if you could see it. No, it's not up there anymore. It is. Hold on. Let me. Back. Hold on. No. Over here is the World of Ice and Fire, like the entire history of Westeros from Game of Thrones. I read that back to back. I've read all the books back to back, and they're fucking meaty books. Watched the shows, House of Dragon. I loved all. I'm a huge Game of Thrones fan. It sucks. We're probably never gonna get Winds of Winter or A Dream of Spring. I think is the other book supposed to be one finishing off. Next one's supposed to be Winds of Winter, and then Dream of Spring or something like that's the final book. We're probably never going to get that because George is too busy doing stupid shit with Hollywood. So, and if the book ends the same way as the show, yeah, fuck it. But I was a huge fan of that franchise, man. I loved it. Still do, but man, I can't ever seen a show going from the greatest show ever to one of the worst shows ever. Just like that with Game of Thrones. Seasons 1 through 4 were some of the best fucking TV ever. And season 5 was but then 6, 7, and 8 were fucking garbage. Just fucking horrible, dude. So fucking stupid. And the DB Wise and Benioff rushed it to get it done so they can go make a Star Wars movie. And Game of Thrones was so fucking terrible the way it ended. They got so much backlash that Disney didn't even give them the Star Wars movie because they did a terrible job with Game of Thrones. And those guys aren't even talented. They just took George's work and ran with it. I mean, also George didn't finish the book, so they thought that he would be done with the books by the time the last book came out in 2011. And the series started in 2011, I think, the first season. So they thought by the time they get to the end, he would be done with the books, but I don't know. We're never get like a satisfied ending with that. And now they're making another one because they're making another show called A Knight's Tale. I think it's called, or it's based off the Hedge Knight, but they're using a different name. Where it's Dunk the Tall, like he's a big, tall fucking knight. He's like his backstory is basically he's just a fucking bottom dweller. He was born in Flea Bottom to nobody mother. I don't even think he knew his mother. I think she was a prostitute, I believe. Doesn't know his father. But she died when I think giving birth to him. He was raised by some knight, like traveled around, and the book opens with that knight dying. So now he's on his own. And he goes to a tournament and things happen. He ends up having a squire with him who happens to be Aegon the Fifth, I believe it is. I think it's Aegon the Fifth, who's the fourth son of King Baelor. I think it is. No, not Baelor. Is it Baelor? I think it's like Breakbones Baelor was his name. Because I think he had two King Baelors. One was the pious one. I think the other one was, I think it is Baelor. Anyway, he was like the fourth son, so he was like a nobody. Then when thought he would become the king, he ended up does becoming the king. He's actually I think he is the grandfather. He's the grandfather to the Mad King, Aegon the Fifth. He is. So he gives birth to a son and daughter. They hook up and have the Mad King. So he's the Mad King's grandfather. But he's a kid in the books. It's him and Dunk going on adventures. That's supposed to come, I think, early next year. I believe that's supposed to come out. That series, and those books aren't done yet either. They're a bunch of short stories. They're not long at all. I read them too. They're a bunch of short stories. Like they're nothing like the actual Song of Ice and Fire novels. They're all a bunch of short stories. But that's still an ongoing series as well. But if you know history, you know what happens to them in the end. But anyway, I just went on a whole fucking Game of Thrones tangent there. My bad. Let's check Twitter, see if hey, smash. Am I on the fucking Gunner timeline? What the fuck? Alright, that's actually pretty funny. Oh, the wet poodle.
Democrats in the House tried to get Republicans to
Well, if because of mine watch this video.
That would keep the government open,
Slop.
lower healthcare costs, end the cuts, and save Americans' healthcare. And Republicans ignored us and would not let us even take a step forward. They gavelled in, they gavelled out. Democrats are here ready to work. Republicans are on vacation. And
they're ready to work for immigrants, illegal immigrants, so fuck you. Is that Shapiro? Another meme.
I don't know why President Trump keeps saying that shit. He needs to say it to my face, Holmes. And while we're at it, I'm getting really tired of all that dollar store Obama shit. It's getting old, homie. My name is not Dollar Store Obama. Okay, pendejo? Órale! Arriba! Arriba!
That's great. Nice. Damn, I'm really on a fucking Gunner timeline, ain't I? There's some tears away from the government. Yep. That's true. They are. Bandai Namco's booth at TGS. See, I respect this. The guy tried to blur out as many faces as possible. That's actually pretty cool, Genki. See what the booth looked like. I think we're in a resurgence of game conventions coming back. Gamescom, I heard, was fucking off the hook. It's always big, but I heard it was like fucking extra big this year. People were like People yearn for that EA experience again. Damn. Wait, what? Beloved Iowa varsity football star tragedy killed after being mistaken for squirrel during a hunting trip? How the somebody needs fucking glasses. Let's see if anybody's live, if anything's going down.
One person standing in the way. And I'm certainly willing to work with my colleague on his concerns about free speech, but he would not even let our committee have any kind of discussion about any legislation, including his own. It's time to let the Senate work its will and vote to extend these cybersecurity protections. It is absolutely essential for this nation's national security.
What is this? Is this a live feed right now, or just the channel's live and they're replaying this from earlier? Excuse me. We're about 1 hour away, almost 1 hour away from government shutdown, baby. Let's fucking party.
Hurricane Helene brought devastating winds.
Yeah, this is. I don't think this is a live feed.
Rainfall to western North.
Is this live though?
My hand be agreed to, the preambles be agreed to, and the motions to reconsider be considered made, laid upon the table, all in block.
Without objection.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent that the Committee on Judiciary be discharged from further consideration. The Senate now proceed to S-Res 396.
The clerk will report.
Senate Resolution 396, condemning the tragic act of violence on September 10th, 2025 in Evergreen, Colorado.
I don't think this is a live feed.
Is there objection?
Anyway, let's see what the completionist has to say. So this story's fucking, hold on.
Content creators named Carl.
So to preface this, the completionist, the YouTuber, his mother has frontal, I forget what the technical term is, but she has dementia real bad in her frontal lobe. Kind of like if you see what Bruce Willis is going through, that same type of dementia where it's very fast acting and it completely just, man, you become like a potato. Like you're just nothing there. You don't have, you don't know what's going on. You don't know how to, you can't talk. You can't you just can't you're basically a vegetable. You can't eat on your own. You have to have assisted living. And it's a very fast progressive disease. And I believe it kills it kills you very quickly. You don't live long with it. It just completely destroys and deteriorates the brain. So his mother had it, and sadly she passed away from it. But like I said, he's the completionist. What he used to do was play video games to 100% completion. I think he reviewed them too. That was his whole shtick. But they would do charity streams and raise money for some foundation to help, progress and find cures and studies for it. So they raised a couple $1 million, and he would always talk on stream about how they're working with, I forget the organization's name, but they were always working with them. There's this one organization they're always working with. And come to find out, they didn't donate any money to the organization at all. I don't know why. I have a theory why he didn't do it. But before he could even really explain what happened, the internet fucking jumped on him and called him a fraud and a phony. They called him out. They fucking pretty much ruined his career just about. Now he didn't spend the money on luxury goods or homes and like that. He just didn't donate it. So it's just sitting in the bank account this whole time, just sitting there. So it wasn't donated at all. I don't know why he's coming out now with an apology when it's been, I think, almost 2 years. He just did it right there and then, saying, listen, we have the money. Just take a picture of the bank account and show it. Here's all the money right here. We just didn't donate it yet. But he was on streams talking about how he already donated the money and how they're working with this organization. and none of that was true. But like I said, he wasn't actually spending the money. He just didn't donate it. Now, why he didn't donate it, I don't know. My theory is that some of these organizations are kind of like scams. So if you go to like a store and they ask you to donate $1 to some charity, a lot of this is why I don't donate really. I don't donate at all anymore, because unless they can tell me. So if you go to a store and they say, would you like to donate $1 to help hungry kids? You ask them, well, how much of this dollar is actually going to the kids and how much is going to the organization? A lot of times you'll find out if you donate $1, 75 cents will go to the organization itself, and like 25 cents will go to the child that's in need of like food. So a lot of these charities are kind of like scams. So a lot of them got caught like basically pocketing a lot of the money and only donating a small portion to actual charity. So that could have been one of the reasons he didn't donate it, because of like, hold on. So say he donates $1 million to this charity, but only 900,000 goes to, or only 100,000 goes to charity. The other 900,000 goes to the organization. So if like I said, when I ask now when I donate, how much is going to this and how much is going to the organization? If they can't tell me, I ain't donating. Forget it. So like I said, he's now back a year later, and I guess he's got an apology video. So it's a 45-minute video, so it should take us close to midnight. And the government shuts down. And I'll just jump back closer to midnight. So I won't pause and stop and pause and talk a lot of this video so we can get through it quick. But like I said, here's his apology video 2 years later. Let's check it out.
Hey everyone, my name is Gerard Khalil. In 2012, I started my YouTube channel, That One Video Gamer, and for the last 13 years of my life,
2012,
I've been
damn.
completing games and making a lot of videos about the
Yes,
things
he has.
that I absolutely love. On November 13th, 2023, two content creators named Carl Jobst and Mudahar Anas.
Jobs is actually being sued. He was sued by the guys. I forget. He's like the world record holder for Donkey Kong, and he won the lawsuit. Made Jobs look like Jobs look like an asshole. And Mudahar is a big fraud himself.
Made videos detailing on how my family's charity, the Open Hand Foundation,
Open Hand, that's
had
the name of
not
charity.
made contributions
Yes.
since its founding, despite numerous fundraisers and misleading statements by myself about
So it looks like he's sitting like the base of his bed recording this.
charitable partners. Within a matter of days, and before I really had any opportunity to present any information
Yeah,
of my own,
they jumped on him.
the narrative had shifted. I was being accused of embezzlement and charity fraud.
Yep.
With Carl and Mudahar directing their viewers to report my family's charity.
Like I
to
said,
the
Carl already got sued and lost.
prompting a criminal
I
investigation
think for defamation
by the
against
Department of Justice. We were
look at his name.
informed
You know
the
he is. He's the
investigation
Donkey Kong
officially
champion.
wrapped up in the fall of 2024.
And Mudahar's a big,
All that
giant fucking
remained was
fraud.
a meeting with the Department of Justice to clear up any lingering questions, such as why the Open Hand had been mass flagged in the first place. I was constantly told by the Department of Justice that this is the final meeting, and the final meeting was right around the corner. But officially now, over a year has passed since then. I didn't want to speak publicly about this whole investigation until I had those final results in my hand, hence my silence all this time.
Okay.
The honest truth is that the Department of Justice will not respond to any emails, despite telling Open Hand's lawyers that they're interested in one final meeting to close the case. It has been over a year waiting on this matter, and the fact of the matter is,
It's the government. Nothing moves fast with them.
I need to move on.
Unless they want to spend your money.
Whenever I get this final documentation, whatever it says, I don't care what it is, I will share the results with whatever I am legally allowed to share as soon as I can. And I am still absolutely confident that the accusations of fraud and embezzlement will be proven false. However, even if we never broke the law, serious moral mistakes were still made by myself and
Yeah,
the
you were a
foundation.
fucking idiot.
The Open Hand took far too long to donate. We
Yes.
never explained why it took so long until after everyone called us out. And I lied about this for all of Indieland's years, both knowingly in 2023 and unknowingly in all the years before.
Indieland was the charity streams used to do to raise money for the organization.
But it doesn't matter what kind of explanation either I or anyone else involved might provide. This happened, and rightfully so, it pissed off everyone. To my viewers and donors, friends and collaborators,
I gotta shave.
I am so sorry for hiding the truth. It was selfish, full stop. I want you all to have the context as to how everything happened, but nothing I've said so far is an excuse, and neither is anything else in this video. All of this is on me. Even if it wasn't exactly how I imagined things would go, my goal always was to make sure this money got donated to the right place as quickly
Yeah, he didn't commit fraud. He was just a fucking idiot and said he donated the money when he didn't.
as possible. And I'm immensely thankful that it got done. So, with that in mind, I'm sure many of you still have a ton of questions, especially about why this happened in the first place and where I've been for the past year. I want to take some time to tell my side of the story and how we got here, but I also want to clear up many of the false accusations made against me, along with addressing the individuals who not only broke this story, but pushed it into the realm of conspiracy. So, yes, just in case all of you are wondering, this is in fact scripted. I am reading from a script. But I want to be clear, the words that you're hearing today are me and only me. There's nobody else trying to influence what I say here.
Yeah, the guy Carl Jobs, he got sued for defamation and lost. And Mudahar turned out to be a big fat fucking fraud too. So you can't really go by their word.
That you are hearing the truth straight from me, not behind lawyers, other content creators, or voiceovers disembodied by random gameplay footage. So for now, let's go back to where all this began, with my mom. When I was young, I lost my mom to frontotemporal dementia.
That's what's
she lived
called.
with that disease for roughly 16 years.
Yeah, it just deteriorates you to like you
passed away
basically
in
regress back to like a
2013,
toddler.
My family officially launched a
And then
charity
worse.
organization called the Open Hand Foundation, with the mission of raising awareness and money for dementia research, educational tools, and helping families. We saw a real need after the frustrations we had personally experienced working with UCSF and how they handled our contributions, both financially and with my mom's own body parts. Before my mom passed away, my family was assured of how incredibly helpful her donation would be and what a difference it would make to the research. Well, imagine our frustration when, after donating our mom's brain and spinal cord, along with several thousands of dollars, we were told that her body parts were pretty much useless by a staff of completely different people that we didn't even know anymore. It made my family feel like we had just given away my mom's body parts for nothing, with the contribution feeling more like a feel-good courtesy than a worthwhile sacrifice. This is where the Open Hand Foundation began, and with it, the need for knowing how charitable contributions actually get spent.
Like I
As for
said,
me,
sometimes when you donate $1, 75 cents goes to the organization, 25 goes to the actual research.
I didn't really get involved into
So I don't
any of
donate no
this
more.
until I reached a place in my career where I really felt like I could use my platform to make a big difference. In 2018, my best friends and I created Indieland, a 24 to 60 hour live stream event where we would play and promote indie games with the people who made them, raising money for charity with all of you at home watching, cheering us on as I went through tons of gross physical challenges at my own expense. Indieland went on for 6 years, and my team and I were so thrilled to see our little show succeed.
1 hour till the government shuts down officially.
However, after we finished our 5th show in November of 2022, I spoke with my family about all the good we were doing, and I really wanted to get a representative from one of our charity partners to come and speak at Indieland 2023. Only then did I learn that the Open Hand Foundation had never made a contribution since its founding, and there were no official partners. All the money was sitting there, untouched and accounted for, ready to be donated. But at the time, there was a massive disagreement between myself and my family. I personally thought it was important that the money be donated right away. Meanwhile, my family's perspective was very different than mine. They had been negotiating with several organizations to establish contracts to take
family
a bulk sum
infighting.
of money as a restricted donation. These conversations revealed that many of these potential organizations were happy to take the money, but didn't want to
course they
track
did.
what they saw as a low sum compared to the 6 to 7 figure amounts they were used to receiving from mostly corporate interest groups. After a lot of tough conversations over the years, my family settled on a goal
Excuse
of
me.
raising $1 million before donating, hoping that this would be a massive milestone that would help organizations to take the foundation way more seriously. But I didn't know about any of this, and I didn't care. I wanted it to go to a reputable charity that would do great things with it right away. That means for the next 12 months, I knew about the money not being donated and was having
Yeah.
constant
Like I said, he wasn't spending the money, he was just sitting in a bank account.
conversations to get it to the right place, trying to repair relationships and negotiate in good faith with several different potential benefactors. Since it was...
But before he can even do anything, Carl Jobs, whatever his name is, like I said, got sued for defamation and lost. And Mudahar, the fake engineer, they jumped all over him and spread these lies and just made it 10 times worse and just kind of ruined this guy's life.
Now up to me to get this money donated. I needed to stay on the board of directors for Open Hand, at least until the donation was officially made. It was around this point that I realized that I was in way over my head. I had just lost my job at G4, and finances were...
Dude, if you don't... Oh, he was at G4, that's right. The whole Frosk. Oh, I miss her. She was such great content. Oh, dude, if he didn't, like, go back and watch that. He was on her side, too. You go, girl. You go, Frosk. She was such a fucking idiot. I think she's out of gaming altogether. She got, some legit real job, and she left gaming. She was the fucking worst. Go back and watch her videos. That was great content. She was so fucking stupid.
For a complete mess all around for myself and my company. I was scrambling to get the Completionist restructured with new ideas and a new tone. And I was practically traveling or doing some work event almost every single week, almost the entire year. But everything was up in the air, and all of it was on me, all at once. And on top of all this was the news that I now had to fix a problem that had been unknowingly brewing for several years. However, even at this point, I couldn't just do whatever I wanted.
I can't until he digs into Mudahar and Jobs.
And this is where the real conflict started.
Yeah,
I tried my best to express how
I know
upset
people
I
like
was,
this stuff.
how
I
upset
don't like
all of
them,
you
but
would rightfully be, and that this could cost me and so many people who worked with me everything we had created and built together, and I was simply brushed aside. I had learned the hard way that the charity world moves at a glacial pace, and I've been going around touting all these organizations and all the good we'll be doing for many years, only for all of it to be a bunch of empty promises.
Yep.
Even after I stepped up, my best efforts to donate as fast as possible would never be good enough, as every decision I wanted to make now had to be approved by a long list of people on both the Open Hand side
that's
and
the corporate
the
world, baby.
benefactors that I have been speaking with. So I feel that some context on my family might be helpful right here. I'm the youngest of 5 in a first-generation Lebanese immigrant household. My dad has always loomed large in every aspect of my life, and that absolutely extended to my own experiences with the Open Hand Foundation, and at times, even my own business. The expectations were that I should have been an engineer, or I should have been a lawyer. Instead, I'm a video producer who plays video games on the internet for a living. If you ever watched the Completionist live show from a few years ago, then all of this should sound pretty familiar to you. I did not have the final call on any major decisions when it came to the Open Hand and its finances. I was one of many people in charge. To my family, I was seen as the video game guy, not the business guy or the charity guy. Regardless, the outcomes were absolutely my responsibility, because all of you at home donated your hard-earned money and time and did so with your trust in me in mind. So when I learned the truth, I made it my goal that no matter what happened, the money had to get donated. There was no other outcome that I would allow. And that's where the real nasty core to all of this is. Nobody embezzled or touched any money, no crime was committed or covered up here, and the results of the Department of Justice's investigation will hopefully one day be proof of this. The decision to wait to donate until the foundation raised $1 million, along with the struggle of figuring out why that was necessary in the first place, should have absolutely been communicated with all of you. The Open Hand Foundation, and myself especially, should have been more transparent with its struggles and its goals, period. A week after Indieland 2023 had wrapped up, and before I could get back to the donation efforts and conversations I was having, my heart stopped when I saw an email to the Open Hand Foundation from a one Carl Jobst.
There he is, Carl Jobst.
Carl's work, as he had been known at the time to
He's
be
a piece of shit.
Groundbreaking creator that claimed to take down cheaters, liars, and scammers. And I knew what was coming next.
Fucked
a few
in a
days
lawsuit.
later, on November 10th, I received a message from another creator, Mudahar Anas, also known
A
as
fake
Some
engineer.
Ordinary Gamers. I respected and trusted Mudahar, so when he asked if I wanted to hop
Yeah,
on a
Mudahar's a
Discord
fucking
call
snake.
to talk about a discrepancy with some of the Open Hand Foundation's publicly available documents,
I think he kisses
agreed,
dudes,
thinking,
too.
hey, you know what? Maybe we could chat this out and clear the air, no problem. Mudahar never once asked about the laws or regulations that Carl had asked about, so I had no reason to think they were collaborating together, especially since they had no prior history together online. I hopped on the call, assuming that this would just be the two of us, until my surprise, I saw Carl join. The rest of what's publicly available to all of you is essentially me having a panic attack while trying to be transparent with two creators I respected at the time, all at the behest of throwing my friends and family under several buses. I saw the headlines coming, and I spiraled, losing control of everything. I did my best to reiterate my family's infighting, the struggles with finding a donor for a restricted donation, and that no matter what was going to happen, all the money was accounted for and ready to be donated. And they even acknowledged that there was no evidence of embezzlement and that it's not.
No, there was no embezzlement. He just didn't donate the money.
So it gave me some hope that this whole thing could be recovered in some way.
I'm keeping it to the charity and like the money and why it hasn't moved. I won't personally be mentioning anybody family related and the personal hell that you honestly have to go through. That's like a fucking no-no for me personally. On my end, and I'm sure on Carl's end, that's something that obviously I think we can abide by. That's just an ethics thing for any journalist, really. The very big silver lining is the money is there, according to every PP filing that I've seen. It can all be like done right, you know. This isn't a situation of actual embezzlement.
No,
or, you know, money being
he just didn't donate the money. It was just sitting in the account the whole
Cayman
time.
Islands or some cryptocurrency offshore. This is a situation that can be rectified for very positive sakes. But yeah,
I was terrified and I should have kept my mouth shut. But some part of me believed that if I was honest right from the get-go, maybe I could get out ahead of this and it could end up just being more of a cautionary situation for people to know. 3 days later, Monday, November the 13th, Mudahar and Carl released their videos, and the story was broken. It made donating even more important, but even more difficult due to the new online reputation of the Open Hand Foundation and myself. Many of these organizations we'd been speaking with suddenly wanted nothing to do with us, legally informing us to keep our distance, and the situation
Bad press. Nobody wants bad press.
Thankfully, my brother and I were able to secure a meeting with AFTD the very next day. And by November 29th of 2023, the Association of Frontotemporal Dementia received $600,000 from the Open Hand Foundation.
That's good.
Soon after this donation was made, I resigned from my role on the board of directors, ending my relationship with my family's efforts in the Open Hand Foundation. The money that remained in the Open Hands account was intended to cover any future operating expenses or potential legal fees. That would prove to be important since the very next day on November 30th, we received a notice from the California Department of Justice that the Open Hand Foundation was now being investigated. All receipts were being sent over, and per legal advice,
getting investigated from Commie Land. Shit.
Everyone's mouths were to be kept shut. The main priority for me was at the very least the $459,129.90 raised by Indieland donors would finally go to the original cause of dementia research in honor of my mother. At this point, my family and I were completely overwhelmed with the noise coming in. And as a result, we brought in several different professionals to help us determine how to even best respond to the ever-growing list of allegations. This is what finally led to my response on December 9th of 2023. All the information that I'm sharing with you right now and going to be sharing with you, this is what I wanted to say in that video.
Okay.
At the time, the Open Hands Foundation's legal counsel instructed me not to say or share anything because nobody knew what would be relevant to the pending investigation by the government.
Sounds like lawyers got involved, told him to shut up.
From telling the full story because our lawyers instructed me to not address any
lawyers told him to shut the fuck up and don't say a word.
Information potentially related to the ongoing investigation, which included receipts, potential evidence, and even fully admitting to any and all of my mistakes. When this response video failed to inspire folks to trust and believe in me still, I knew that my support systems were going to go away very quickly. My financial, legal, and community support disappeared overnight, with a lot of my friendships, both personal and professional, going away with it as well.
You'll be on top
it was clear
and then down below,
I
just
had
like
failed,
that.
My options were extremely limited. Over the course of the next 2 months, almost all the employees at That One Video Gamer were let go, and I spent most of my time clearing out the now defunct old office. I decided to continue making content as a way just to keep the lights on despite my legal silence. But by the summer of 2024, I eventually stopped producing new content altogether. I would go on to disappear from the lives of practically everyone I knew because I thought that in my own self-hating isolation that that's what everyone wanted from me. But in reality, I ended up doing a lot more harm than good by letting everyone else deal with the public responses. And that was extremely selfish of me. Without being able to truly apologize and take 100% full accountability for the things that I was responsible for, it felt like no one wanted to ever hear from me, let alone trust me ever again. To my moderators, my biggest fans that have rolled with me since day one, and especially to anyone who ever donated to Indieland in any way, shape, or form. So many of you trusted me, my words, and my reputation in what I stood for. I know a lot of you have left this community, are hurt and feel betrayed, and were even threatened or harassed by people online just for saying that you still believed in me.
Which is fucking
I put
crazy.
all of you in an unbelievably difficult situation, and for that, I am deeply sorry. To my past employees, I am so sorry that you've had to endure the sudden hardship of needing to find new employment with a resume that had my name and company insignia on it. You trusted me to manage that one video gamer and everything related to our brand in a way that would keep us going for the next decade. All of you gave me your blood, sweat, and tears, and some of you for the full 13 years of our existence.
Damn.
I am forever grateful for all of you.
It's crazy. Yeah,
and I am
dream,
so sorry
and then
that this
just
ended up
became a
becoming
nightmare.
the worst possible scenario for all of us. To Fraser Perez Don, Patrick Stingline, and Michael Barity. You've always been my best friends. Your relentless support has always meant the world to me. Indieland and so much of TOVG's ambition and drive.
He can make a comeback, I think.
You dreamed as big as
He didn't really
I
do
did,
anything.
not bigger, and contributed to our success.
He did something wrong, but he wasn't.
I will always
It wasn't
be in
fraud
your
or
debt.
embezzling. It was just a stupid
My
fucking
heart
move.
is so heavy for how this ruined your lives and the lives of your fellow employees. I will find a way somehow, someday, to reconcile and seek redemption with all of you, if you will allow me to. I want to especially apologize to the Super Beard Brothers, the Scary Game Squad, the Friends Per Second podcast, and all of the guests and indie game developers that appeared at Indieland for the long road of chaos they had to endure and will continue to endure because of all of this. I don't expect forgiveness from anyone who watches this, but I do want all of you to know that I am doing everything in my power to make it right. And on that note, I do want to talk a little bit about the progress update on AFTD's fight against dementia and how all the money you all donated is helping real people today. In July of 2024, AFTD sent Open Hand a report of what our contribution was going towards. In
Okay, there you go.
compliance with the terms of the restricted
proof of what it's
donation
actually going
previously
towards.
negotiated upon. And I'll have that full report in the box down below, but I do want to touch on a few things that I'm very excited about. First off, when we negotiated our donation with AFTD, an outside party matched another $200,000 to our donation.
That's good.
Through one of AFTD's matching programs. So the total at the end of the day was actually $800,000 that went to dementia research, education, and care. This money was distributed through a wide variety of grants to several different researchers around the country, studying both chemical and social questions surrounding dementia, FTD, and all related disorders. Alongside this, one specific grant was awarded to the Respite Care Financial Assistance Program. Now, this helps to alleviate the financial burden of those diagnosed with FTD via direct cash grants for victims and their families. At the end of June of 2024, AFTD distributed 753 grants as a part of this program. That means there's 753 individual families who receive direct assistance hiring professional caregivers, enrolling in care programs, and purchasing supplies like shoes, clothes, and technology, and so much more. Now, this is a very detailed report with a ton of scientific terminology, but if you ever donated to Indieland over the years, then this report is for you. It's your money helping these families through both new research and relief funding, and it is making an actual genuine difference to so many people. For whatever it's still worth, I want to genuinely thank each and every one of you who donated over the years. Thank you so much for your compassion and generosity, sincerely. On top of all of this, the Open Hand Foundation has committed to donate to AFTD for many years to come, as long as they have money to operate with $50,000 already having been contributed this year alone. Given that this amount was so much smaller than the last donation, they asked to not have any big press releases around this time. Even though I'm not a part of the Open Hand anymore, it makes me so happy to know that the foundation is continuing to donate and hopefully start to rebuild some of the trust. Donors, in the end, if you donated to Indieland, your money went to charity and only charity.
So like I said, it wasn't fraud. He didn't embezzle it. He just didn't donate it right away, but was talking like he did. And was saying he partnered with his one organization when it really wasn't. But as you can see, he donated it. Now, Carl Jobs, or Jocelyn, which his name was, he turned out to be a fucking loser and got sued by Billy Mitchell. That's the guy's name, Billy Mitchell. He's like the world record for like Donkey Kong, I think Donkey Kong, and he also has a hot sauce company. He sued Carl Jobs or Jobs, whatever you want to fucking say his name, for defamation. I think slander too, and Billy Mitchell won. And we find out Mudahard is a big fucking fraud who isn't even an engineer. He lied, just like a lot of H-1Bs, to get here in America, and he's not even an engineer. He's just a fucking phony.
That was the promise.
And they ruined this poor guy's life for nothing.
That was the goal, and we got there. I want to reiterate that at the end of the day, I was not trying to use or abuse my power as an influencer. And the intent was always to raise money for charity and never to take any of it.
Yeah.
The memory and legacy of my mother is one of the most important things to me. And truly to this day, despite her passing, I do not think...
I'm 30... How old am I? 36. I'll be 37 in December. Jesus Christ, I'm old. I lost my mother when I was 26 to cancer. So I understand what this guy's going through. It's a rough time.
That I have gotten over the hardships and the trauma that I've experienced in my life with her and her illness.
Yeah.
She always taught me to do good. And I was trying to live through her to do good. And I'm still trying to do good to this day. You, as a viewer, deserve the facts, and especially the truth. That's why I want to clarify as many of the allegations against me as I can that are absolutely false. First, I want to address the idea that the Open Hand could quickly just donate the money the same way you can just click donate on a charity website.
Not with that much money, you can't.
Venmo or PayPal a friend.
Almost everyone is screaming at them just to donate the money, which should be pretty easy to do.
One thing you'll see is they'll ask me to gift an amount.
There's Mudahard. There's the fucking fraud. The engineer, the fake H-1B engineer.
$35.
The short answer is no. If we wrote a check to a charity with no agreements on how that money gets spent or how it's tracked, we would never have received a report detailing how our donors' money was being put to use. It would likely have gone to funding administrative costs like accounting fees and executive salaries. It had to be restricted to make sure that it actually went to dementia research. And negotiating with many of these organizations is really tough when you aren't.
I'm looking at this guy with his big fucking beard. I'm like, man, I gotta shave now too.
To us, $600,000 was an astronomical amount of money, especially for me and my community. But in the charity world, that's small potatoes. There's a ton more to this whole thing. But that's about the best explanation that I can personally provide.
Yeah, people donate millions at a time.
501c3 lawyer or accountant. This stuff is unbelievably complex, and it takes time to get it right. Simply put, it was functionally impossible for us to just donate the money in a website's donate button section while being responsible to the people who donated to us and the cause that we represented. That obviously does not excuse the fact that it took far too long to donate. But hopefully this at least explains why, even once you find a benefactor, it's still a very tedious process. Next, I want to talk about Twitch bits and Twitch subscriptions. If you don't know how bits and subs work, viewers can donate money in the form of Twitch bits, as well as subscribe to a Twitch streamer for
Kick has them now too. They're called Kicks.
Streams. This money then gets split with Twitch, and the remaining balance then comes to the Twitch streamer at the end.
I think what fucking bits and... I don't know what bits, but like... subs, I think like 70% of your fucking subscription, where Kick only think takes 5%. It's crazy.
During the weeks,
Twitch is almost Twitch is like unwatchable nowadays. Like I remember one time, it was back when Ludwig did something. He was like standing out or something, like kind of being like a coward, and I went to go like troll his chat because I heard if you type Asmongold in his chat, you automatically got banned. So I went to just go do it real quick to test it out. I had to sit through, I didn't sit through it, but if I would have done it, I would have had to sit through 8 fucking ads before I can even watch his stream. I didn't even want to watch his stream. I just want to go in there and troll. and it was going to make you watch 8 fucking ads. I clicked out. I don't even go on Twitch anymore. Unless you have Twitch Turbo, or like an ad blocker, it's impossible to watch Twitch. And then we saw the other day, which I think is this is great. I love it. I love this company. They're bringing a rewind feature to Twitch live streams, which YouTube has, which Kick has for free. And I just found out if you want that rewind feature, you have to be a Turbo member. Twitch is just a fucking
all
joke.
Bits and subs that we
They're
received on the channel
they're on
were
the
put
downslope
towards the
big time.
donation goal throughout the event.
The
I'm
culture's
sure
just
many of
terrible
you
there.
have seen a lot of clips and memes at this point over the years where I have said we don't touch any bits or subs. Technically speaking, I do have to interact with them because I have to claim the income that comes to me and my company, and any money that Twitch pays out is income regardless of where it will end up going later on.
And taxes.
However, either myself or my brother, sometimes referencing a meme name during the stream, referencing something that was taking place at the time in the stream, would donate various amounts of money that match what we had received from Twitch viewers in real time up to that point directly to our Tiltify page. That way, the on-screen totals would match and no amount would ever get forgotten. If there was any discrepancy at the time, we made sure to donate extra to ensure accuracy, and sometimes that happened a few days after Indiana had wrapped up. We worked hard to figure this process out.
Chapters are
Early
fucking great on
we didn't
YouTube.
have everything locked in, but by the time we were done, that was our process. No matter what though, dollar for dollar, everything did go to charity. For full transparency, on screen right now, you can see our revenue for Twitch bits and subs for every year of Indieland. And the document containing this data will be available for
Damn, that's a lot of money. 3,000, 10,000, 2,000, 3,000, 3,000. Direct donations, 49,000, 99,000, 66,000, 71,000. 77,000, 68. Oof. It's a lot of money.
$459,129.90 was contributed to the open hand by the fundraising efforts of That One Video Gamer, The Completionist, and Indieland. All of the money raised for Indieland went directly towards that sum, and absolutely none of it was used for either expenses or personal use. This can be corroborated by both our Twitch earnings.
So it's
and
11:30.
our
Almost a half an hour until the
expenses
government
year
shuts
on year.
down. Party time.
The process of receiving and tracking Twitch bits and subs was a tedious extra layer to Indieland's operations, which is why we encourage viewers eventually over the years to donate directly to the Tiltify campaign instead. That way, donor money was going directly to the open hand, and I don't need to be the middleman at all in this situation. While we're talking expenses, let's address the claim that I used Indieland as a way to earn money from claimed expenses
He
and
didn't.
gain clout from running a prestigious event with big names.
I don't think he did. He didn't. It's just the rumor mill gets going, baby, and you're just a fucking victim to it.
Celebrities and respected creators.
People love to see you get built up, and they love it even more when you come fucking crashing down. It's crazy how we live as a society.
Of everyone in the entire world who benefits from Indieland, it's Gerard who benefits the most. He gets the Twitch followers, he gets the media attention, he gets to mingle with game developers and celebrities, he gets all the credit.
As it grew, Indieland became increasingly more expensive to produce, most of all in 2022, when we made it an attendable live show like we had promised our viewers in 2019. That One Video Gamer shouldered all expenses. That was my contribution to the cause. The general rule of thumb is that a nonprofit charity should only spend around 25% of its income on expenses. And according to the BBB Wise Giving Alliance, 35% is the max amount to be considered a credible charity. The Open Hands operating costs, on average, were only 11.85% during the years that Indieland was being run. We achieved
money
this
management.
because Indieland had no claimed expenses to maximize donor contributions, and more importantly, it was a passion project for our team. This was our idea. This was our vision. This was our dream. In the now leaked Discord interview conducted by Carl and Mudahar, I had previously mentioned that some expenses were recouped by my company via Twitch revenue or reimbursements from the foundation. It actually turns out that I was wrong. No expenses were ever claimed by my company, either through Open Hand or through the Twitch revenue. Between travel expenses for guests, venue costs for 2022,
Damn,
food and
$88,000.
drinks, and all
Holy
sorts of other
shit.
extras, That one video gamer spent
Cost
approximately
a lot of fucking money putting an event on, huh?
running Indieland across all 6 years.
It's hosted in someone's
This
fucking
also doesn't
basement or
include
something,
the
dude.
tax burden that one video gamer took on by processing Twitch bits and subscriptions, plus the man hours dedicated to preparing for and running these events. That's hundreds of hours from 5 full-time employees being paid to put this event on together
$88,000.
year
Holy
after
shit.
year. In short, we spent tens of thousands of dollars of my company's own money to run a charity that we did not get paid for, not for clout, but because we cared. Many employees volunteered additional time to make Indieland happen, and I did not make this mandatory for their duties. We were all building this thing together. This event belonged to the staff who put it together, and they did it because they wanted to. They cared immensely about both indie games and victims of dementia. I am insanely proud of my team, and we only succeeded as much as we did because of their unbelievable dedication. I was the face, yes, and I did have final say, but this was our baby, not just mine. I am so proud of the showrunners, producers,
Did a good
editors,
job.
and
People-
coordinators who actually
People fucking jumped on him so quick just for clout and like just to have some kind of video or story to put out. It's fucked up what we do to
achieve
people,
these
man.
goals that they set for themselves. As a final
Was he a fucking idiot and saying that he donated the money when he didn't and talking about how he's working with this one organization when he wasn't? Yeah. But the way they jumped on this guy, he would act like he thought he embezzled all the money and it was like buying sports cars and houses and shit. When none of that, like, he got way too much fucking heat for
I
this.
want to add that many online have noticed that the Open Hand Foundation has entered into a delinquency status with the IRS. Carl
Not good.
Jobst has run with this, saying that this is further proof that Open Hand did not comply with the law. In reality, the Open Hands Legal Counsel was instructed by the Department of Justice to withhold their tax filings until the investigation was concluded. This delinquency status is the charity equivalent of an unpaid parking ticket and gets cleared whenever Open Hand files a specific form,
Yeah.
which they've already taken care of. As a result, this delinquency status has been corrected and is actually explicit proof that my family and I fully complied with the investigation and truly have nothing to hide. Now, I wish I could end the video right here and move on and not acknowledge my detractors beyond easily debunked numbers and misunderstood compliance laws. Unfortunately, Carl and Mudahar have made themselves impossible to ignore. They have inserted themselves into my story whether I like it or not. Both of them have perpetuated and publicized numerous conspiracy theories about myself and my family online.
Warren turned out to be a
and this has
complete
led
fucking
to
fraud and he only got
irreparable
sued for
harm,
slander and
not just
defamation and
myself,
lost.
but everyone associated with my family, including personal information being leaked, stalking, public harassment, and so much more. It doesn't matter that these guys never explicitly said they believe some of this stuff, nor do they verbally condone bad faith attacks. They discussed and entertained several conspiracies that directly hurt people who had nothing to do with any of this at all. One of the conspiracy claims was that my family donated personal funds to cover up the fact that we secretly stole all of the donor money. Both Mudahar and Carl discussed this as not only a legitimate possibility, but as a likely reality, despite the fact that no hard evidence of embezzlement has ever existed.
One of the actual conspiracies for this is one user writes, they just needed a few weeks to secure a loan or liquidate assets to come up with the money to do this. If this conspiracy theory is true and the California DOJ or the IRS are investigating, that's going to draw some serious eyeballs over to them. So if that money is there,
Yeah, he's so weird
just
looking.
prove it exists. I get it. You're behind lawyers and PR agencies.
If this was actually true, the DOJ would have caught it instantly.
Yeah,
and
they
acted
would have.
accordingly. 501c3 charities in California are extremely strict and are under much tighter supervision than most other states in the U.S. An even more outrageous conspiracy tries to allege that my dad poisoned my mom in order to not just worsen her condition, but maybe even cause her diagnosis in the first place. These
Holy
were
shit.
particularly nasty conspiracies that I wanted to address in my initial response video.
Then came back and went to divorce his dad and said, no, I won't let you unless you see a doctor because the only reason you'd want to divorce me is if I'd gotten a medical problem. Dude, Carl Jobst is a piece of shit, dude.
That I wanted to address in my initial response video.
I'm glad he lost
in
his
December of
lawsuit.
2023, where I shared my mom's autopsy report to prove that yes, she did live and die with frontotemporal dementia. Some people were a little confused about this and were extremely upset that I used my mom's death certificate in that way that I did. But seeing all these accusations that were swirling around me, even the truth of my mom's disorder was now officially being questioned. Now there's one more thing that I want to get ahead of here. Just a couple years before my mom passed away, my dad started dating his now current wife while still being married to my mom. When you're committed to caring for someone with dementia for over a decade, life gets extremely complicated. My mom was at least 10 years into getting sick, and she was barely communicative at this point.
You're basically a vegetable.
My dad somehow found love at his senior age with an amazing woman who would go on to help our family take care of my mom well into her final days. I should not have to explain what I feel is no one's business but my family's.
Then don't.
Unfortunately,
Don't put it out there.
There's
You don't
Discord
have to.
receipts of Carl stating that this was the last bit of family stuff that he was holding back, presumably until I decided to respond again, repeatedly referring to my stepmom as a mistress in my dad's supposed affair.
Dude, Carl John's a piece of
Considering he used
shit.
this exact tactic against Billy Mitchell, accusing his current wife
And
of
lost.
being nothing but a mistress in Billy's alleged affair, I have no doubt in my
Sue
mind
him.
that Carl would and might still try and use this against me in the future.
Sue him. I would sue the shit out of Carl. Big time.
The very next week, he applied to marry his mistress of many years. So that's why Billy lies about his marriage, because the truth is that he had his children out of wedlock to a mistress, and that just doesn't sound quite as wholesome.
Myself and my
Like I said, Billy sued him for defamation and slander, and he won. He should do the same thing.
family have long accepted and loved who my dad married after my mom passed away. It doesn't matter how much Carl tries to twist the truth here. There is no grand conspiracy here. The truth is that despite what they claim, Mudahar and Carl are not journalists, accountants, lawyers, or even engineers. They're YouTubers, just like
Got him. The fake engineer.
me. That's why they never issued
I
any
love it.
corrections to this story, despite
He is a
numerous
fake engineer,
allegations being
Mudahar.
thoroughly disproven even before my own response video came out. Corrections and questions are entertained as possible, but at no point did either of these two admit that they were wrong about anything they incorrectly cited. The 5% rule for charities to donate every single year, Open Hands filing status, expenses and contribution totals, or even my own words. These were all things that I tried to address in my response video, and others online had corrected them as well. There were a number of laws, requirements, and so much more that both Carl and Mudahar cited incorrectly, with no corrections to this very day.
Sue them.
Let's take a step back real
Whoa.
quick. Mudahar's first video
Here we
released
go.
on November 13th. His next upload responding to online criticisms was on November 20th. His third video was on December the 2nd. And a fourth video was then released on December 7th.
Yeah, he
This
just
time
was
to
just
talk
chasing
about our
views.
donation to AFTD. Each and every video, Mudahar told his viewers that the open hand needed to be reported for an audit if you, the viewer, wanted anything to change.
Looking at their golf tournament, looking at a bunch of other places.
You know he
there
probably
is,
stinks so bad.
At least, in my opinion, income or revenue that should be reassessed by an auditing body.
That is until December 9th when I released my response video. In my video, I said that we welcomed an audit, responding to the claim that we were somehow afraid that an investigation might happen, exposing the books and everything up to everyone.
What they don't want is people, especially the authorities, looking into the golf tournament and all of that sponsorship money.
But if you have the money, I don't think it's illogical to show that you have the money and you are willing to donate it. Unless, of course, even if possessing the money after all of this, there are still some serious legal repercussions.
Instead of admitting that, hey, maybe he might have gone too far, Mudahar doubled down,
course he
saying
did.
that a criminal investigation by the government suddenly doesn't disprove his accusations that we broke the law.
Now, the audit was never the smoking gun during this video, and you might be like, whoa, what are you talking about, Muda?
This is the exact investigation that Mudahar instructed his viewers would deliver justice if they followed his instructions.
Do you want justice to be delivered? So I'm going to teach you guys how to report this properly. Now, obviously, if you want any agency to look into this, check the state of California.
As for Carl, he actually acknowledges that he doesn't correctly cite any of the laws that I supposedly broke.
I couldn't give two shits if any of that is illegal or illegal. It would not affect my own moral judgments because I don't base my morals on whether or not a court convicts someone of a crime.
However, instead of admitting that he got anything wrong in his videos, Carl conveniently says that he is not a journalist, he's just making entertainment.
Yep.
The purpose of a YouTube video is first and foremost to entertain, because if a video isn't easy to understand or entertaining, people won't watch it and I will get less money.
Accusations of criminal wrongdoing and inexcusable moral character are now a form of entertainment and should not be taken as fact, despite the fact that Carl cites himself constantly as an investigative journalist, both in his GoFundMe campaigns, on the record in the courtroom in several different cases, and even in one of his most recent videos.
My channel and my investigative work improved dramatically after I got sued.
Despite the best efforts that I put in my initial
And
response
lost.
video, I was never going to win, no matter what I said. The money got donated, but that was never the true goal. For Carl and Mudahar to succeed, I had to be irredeemable, and nothing I could have legally provided at the time would have been enough.
Which I will once again prove in this video that you cannot take Gerard at his word. He is proven to be somebody that is deceptive.
It was my
Just like
16-minute
Mudahar is.
video
He's a liar
under the
too.
scrutiny of countless legal professionals versus their
Man, talk about the
8+
fucking
hours
pot.
of
Calling
sponsored conspiracy-based attacks. So, as a recap, yes,
Pot calling the kettle
I
black.
did lie about where the donations were going, knowingly so after Indieland 2022. I tried to take responsibility privately by making sure that the money got donated appropriately, hoping that I could minimize the damage this might do to everyone in my life, keeping this a secret to prevent anyone else from being complicit. In reality, continuing to hide this throughout 2023 only made everything worse, because now I was still directly complicit. There was always going to be hell to pay, and I was
20
just
minutes till
being
the government
stupid
shuts
about
down.
all of this. I should have just partnered with the organization directly, made things right from the beginning, and not cared about restricted donations or where the money was going. I also should not have gone ahead with Indieland in 2023.
October 1st too.
The show had taken a life of its own because it finally was receiving the notoriety for all of our team's hard work, and I did not want to hurt or betray everyone that put their blood, sweat, and tears into the show. This was just as important to indie games as it was to charity, and that added a ton of expectations and pressure. In the end, I made a choice that cost my team their employment and ruined their lives.
Damn.
Not to mention all the residual flack of every indie developer that
That
they
sucks,
received
man.
just because of their association to me. It was short-sighted and dishonest. I should have come clean as soon as I learned about it and separated myself and the event from my family immediately. With all that being said, though, what I did not do was steal, embezzle, or otherwise misappropriate donor funds for anything. Every cent of money donated was always there, waiting to find a benefactor. Any claims of theft, embezzlement, or fraud are categorically false. I also want to apologize to Carl and Mudahar. Despite my criticisms, I know what it's like to have your entire life scrutinized by tens of thousands of strangers who just want to see you fail, and nobody deserves that. I know you both wanted this money donated, and you didn't deserve to get blown off just because people liked me. But I'm not interested in fighting some eternal YouTube drama conflict.
Fuck them,
I
dude.
just want to come clean.
You do not make peace
and
with
this
your
is
enemy, you
genuinely
destroy
as
them.
soon as I was able to do so. So if you're really interested in understanding whether Carl and Mudahar conducted
In a
a
video game.
responsible and educated investigation, there's a great YouTube video out there by a YouTube channel called Accounting in YouTube that breaks down the entire thing. And it's made by actual CPAs who looked at everything that Carl and Mudahar looked at. If this is where my work in charity ends, then so be it. I have participated in dozens of public fundraising events over the years that have nothing to do with the Open Hand Foundation or my family for that matter. And the reason has always been the same each and every single time. Real people need as much help as they can get when faced with life-changing disorders like dementia. I've experienced this whole thing firsthand from the age of 10. It was one of the hardest things I've ever had to endure, and I never wanted to
Yeah, that's
defraud
rough as a
anyone in
10-year-old
all
to
of
see your
this.
mom go through
I
that.
just wanted
Oof,
to raise money for
man.
charity and help promote indie games. I wanted to elevate the industry as much as I could.
My grandmother, who's 78 right now, She started showing signs of dementia when she was about 72. And she has it now. I don't know if it's Alzheimer's or dementia. It's either one. I'm not sure. But she doesn't remember anything. She remembers like stuff that happened like in her childhood. Like she'll remember her next door neighbor when she was a little girl. But if you sit there and have a conversation with her and talk about the weather, she'll forget like that and just repeat the same thing over and over. It's like it's crazy to see someone just deteriorate like that.
Because it's always elevated me. So, where do we go from here? Even if I somehow recover from this controversy, things can never be the same as they once were.
She recognizes who you are. Like if you walk in the house, she'll know who I am. She'll know who my sister is, her kids. Like she'll know that stuff. But having a conversation with her, she won't remember what you're talking about.
Where does that mean the completionist, the show, my channel, my livelihood? Is it all just dead?
I hope not.
No.
Yeah, come on back, buddy.
I still complete games. I actually never stopped completing games. Even through the entirety of last year, I completed well over a dozen games.
My cat wants to go out.
Just because I wanted to. At the end of the day, I still love making videos. I'm not a drama YouTuber or anything like that. I play games and just want to make videos about the things that I'm passionate about. My life is fundamentally different these days. My friend group has completely shifted. My family dynamics are very, very different. And the image that you all had of me is shattered. And maybe that's all okay. Maybe it's not okay. Maybe it doesn't need to be okay.
No, dude, sue.
This is a new beginning for me, the completionist, and
it's America, we
all of you at
sue.
home who've supported me, should you choose to continue to roll with me. From now on, this is my story to tell. And if you're here for it, I cannot wait to make entirely new kinds of videos that will make you laugh and hopefully make you think. Going forward, you're going to be seeing a lot of me more streaming on Twitch, and hopefully weekly videos will return again soon. But it's going to feel very different. I don't have my company or my team anymore.
Damn.
It's just me once again, by myself. Before I end this video, I want to talk to a few people specifically. To Alex Faciani and Kelly Whistler. You two have been in my corner for years, supporting me through the insanity that's...
All right, we don't need to hear about them too, but... So, I guess, like I said, he didn't embezzle money. He didn't spend it on personal goods. He just didn't donate it when he said he did. The money was just sitting in the account. Mudahard and that Carl Jobs guy picked it up and ran with it like he was embezzling and he was fucking doing all this scam shit. Mudahar, we find out, is a fraud as well. He's not even a real engineer. He lied to get here to America. So he's also a piece of shit. And Carl Jobs, another piece of shit. He made up a bunch of stories about Billy Mitchell and got sued and lost. So that proves right there he's a fucking fraud too. Carl Jobs. Like I said, Mudahar, I can't stand him anymore. He's a fucking fraud. But I think it's a good video. He, explained himself very thoroughly. Did a great job. I hope he comes back. And hopefully he can just move forward. I'll even subscribe to his channel. Fuck that. Good boy. So, there we go. Welcome back, The Completionist. That's the video Trump posted. Yeah. Look at that. Pointing right at Hakeem. Dollar Store Obama. And there's J.D. Vance over there. And right there, that hand is Chuck Schumer's. And it's 11:45, man. Oof. We're so close to a government shutdown. Oh my God, look at this shit. He looks so tiny. Oh, man, that's funny as hell. What the fuck? Overall, they like the game, but damn if we don't get lucky at being able to have it all. No, you turn off replies, you fucking coward. Let's see what's going with the government. These guys are live. But they're their commercial break.
Okay.
Nope.
So, all we've been doing tonight is kind of watching Capitol Hill and the White House as we
Let them play in the background real quick. So I'm gonna see if we can find anything
13
else.
minutes away from the government officially shutting down. Our friend and colleague Jim Lokay over at Fox 5 in D.C. discussing the looming government shutdown. This is airing on their late night show right now. Let's listen in. They're speaking with analysts and experts about the government shutdown. Again, just 12 minutes away.
12 minutes, baby.
You've been in office for just a couple of weeks now, but you've seen this before. You've
Party
seen
starts
this
in 12
game
minutes.
going up to these deadlines in the past or your time serving in that office. Your reaction right now? Republicans say it's all the Democrats' fault.
Well, thanks for having me, Jim. You know, I'm frustrated today. I was at the Capitol today. I was at the Capitol yesterday. I felt like Republicans should have been there with Democrats negotiating a bipartisan funding agreement that would cancel the health care cuts and fund the federal government, but they decided to skip town and not to have that negotiation. So that is frustrating. I think that's also a difference between this shutdown that we're about to enter and the ones that you described, and I was around for some of those as well. In all those cases,
And their last shutdown was 2017, I believe.
Sometimes frantic negotiations up to the last minute. Here we've seen President Trump and Republicans in Congress just outright refuse to even negotiate. And
Not
I
true.
think that's why we are in the situation we're in.
They wanted
with the
to
shutdown
keep
looming
illegal
in 24
immigrants
minutes.
or give illegal immigrants health care that you and I have to pay for. And they wanted to bring in illegal aliens to the border.
Funding that was wiped away in the rescissions package, were those mainly the sticking points within the Democratic caucus?
I think those are key sticking points. And look, you know, Democrats put forward their own proposal. The Senate tonight voted on two different budgets, right? They voted on the Republican spending plan that would lock in health care cuts that wouldn't address those skyrocketing Affordable Care Act premiums that are headed to Virginians and Americans across the country. The Democratic proposal that was also voted down in the Senate would have addressed those issues and funded the government and required the Trump administration to actually implement the programs that Congress funds and appropriates. So both budgets, Democrat and Republican, failed. When that happens, the next step should be a negotiation and a compromise between the two sides, but Republicans haven't been willing to do that.
All right, so do you have any indication or any expectations how long this shutdown might last? Last time around was 35 days. That was the longest one we've ever seen in history. By the way, that one also happening when Republicans were in control.
I have no indication of
35 days. Is that, I think, it's 2017.
It will be on the shorter end. As you know, we've also had shutdowns that
cares?
lasted only a matter of days and had, little real world impact.
Saves us a bunch of money in taxpayers funded shit.
Employees or the American people. I hope
Remember, if you hear anything say it's government funded, that's your and I's money.
35-day category, but at this point, I just don't know.
Do you feel like this time, because there's been all this talk about the federal jobs, you talked about it when you were running for the congressional seat. We just heard the lieutenant governor talk about it from the Republican perspective. But obviously, federal jobs have been in the crosshairs from this administration as part of these government.
Yeah, they want to clean up a bunch of government jobs. You have too much just do-nothing jobs in the government now where people are making a fortune doing nothing.
Jim, you've done a great job of covering this over the last 9 months.
Christ, we hired fucking during the Obama administration or Biden administration, 87,000 IRS agents. The fuck do we need them for?
De facto,
Shut the whole IRS down.
Of much of the federal government for 9 months now, right? He shut down USAID. He shut down
one giant
the
scam.
Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. He shut down
Yep.
much of the Department of Education and
Yep.
other
All
offices
scams
within agencies that he doesn't like. So that's happening.
Nah, that's a lie.
Of widespread or more significant layoffs during a shutdown, I think is flat out illegal.
Oh, shut the fuck up.
Anti-Deficiency Act, which kind of governs what the administration can do during a shutdown, is very clear that all of the work that's required to do a widespread layoff of federal workers is not legal during a shutdown. So that if they try to do that, I think they'll end up in court. In fact, a lawsuit's already been filed, I believe, and I think they'll lose that.
No.
They don't have additional legal authority to fire federal workers during a shutdown. Furlough, yes, absolutely, but not fire.
Speaker Johnson has said Democrats, I'm going to read the quote here, want to hold September government funding hostage over an unrelated December policy fight of their own making. Basically, they're saying that the Democrats, the Democratic Party had a chance to address these concerns a while ago, and they are using this as a cudgel just as much, to be fair, as the Republicans used the border wall as a cudgel for a government shutdown back in what, 2018 at this point. It feels like forever ago. When you hear that, when they say that you're imperiling food assistance programs as well, your reaction?
Obviously, it's rich to hear Speaker Johnson or any Washington Republican say that Democrats are imperiling food assistance programs while they just passed a big, ugly bill that cuts billions of dollars from food assistance. Literally, it's taking food from the tables of families and children. Look, the Republicans in Washington created a healthcare crisis, and it's not a December crisis. The premium notices for the Affordable Care Act exchanges start to go out in a matter of days or weeks, depending on where you live in the
Shut
country.
it all down, baby.
So families are going to see those skyrocketing premiums, thousands of additional dollars each year, and are making those decisions now about whether they'll be able to afford health care for their families. It is an urgent issue. It's a crisis that Speaker Johnson helped to create. It's a sad thing that he wasn't willing to show up to work today to try to solve the crisis that he created.
Right. Congressman James Walkinshaw, we appreciate you. 18 minutes away from shutdown. We'll be talking to you again, I'm sure, in the days and weeks to come. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us here on the show. In the meantime,
We are
when come
6
back on
minutes
the
away,
Final Five,
baby.
we'll get the Republican take on this, including what those tax credits, when it comes to the Affordable Care Act, mean. Tommy Aiello is my guest when we come right back.
Okay, by the way, we're not going to watch a commercial break on our end. What we're going to do is we're going to take you straight into that conversation that Jim was talking about. This is Fox 5 DC.
Republicans, that being healthcare subsidies. Let's talk about that and more. Tommy Aiello from the National Taxpayers Union up late with me tonight here on the Final Five to talk about that and more. First of all, Tommy, appreciate you joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Okay, so there always is something when you
National
have these
Taxpayers
showdowns to the
Union.
very last minute. Democrats want something, Republicans want something. I think we all want to keep the government open in some way, shape, or form.
Nah, I
But this
don't
time,
care.
Republicans
Close
have
it
done
down.
a decent job in terms of messaging, saying, "Hey, this is on the backs of the Democrats here."
Look, Republicans did their job in the House of Representatives 2 weeks ago. They passed a short-term continuing resolution just to fund the government for another 7 weeks to buy time for negotiators to find a long-term funding deal. Unfortunately, that's not good enough for the Democrats, who are now willing to shut down the government in very, very shortly. So no one wants to see a government shutdown. No one wins in a government shutdown.
Let's talk about those tax credits that are
We
in play
do.
here. This is stemming from the days of the Affordable Care Act, and this would be certain subsidies that people, Democrats, say
91
rely
degrees in
upon
Phoenix.
to pay for
Holy
healthcare. So the way that they
shit.
framed it is, if there's not
San
these
Diego.
concessions
It's like the
made
best place I
by
could
the
live
part
in
of the
California,
Republicans who
San
are in the
Diego.
majority, people would be
It's
thrown
like
off
nice
their
and
healthcare.
breezy year round.
Yeah, look, Democrats are being
It's like
completely
that nice cool night. You can just leave your windows
They want to
open and the
extend
breeze.
temporary COVID-era Obamacare subsidies, right?
Yeah.
Every Republican pretty much campaigned against Obamacare. They campaigned against these COVID-era policies. And unfortunately,
commie
what we're talking about here
government
is
tactic
the
shit.
best of both worlds. So what these subsidies do is they subsidize people to get their health care from the Obamacare exchanges. It's extremely costly, $40 billion a year for these programs, and they really
My
generally
brother's on
only
this, and
help
he gets.
people with higher incomes.
I have
People making
very
up to
good health
$500,000
insurance.
a year are taking
I have
advantage
like
of these.
union
It's-
health
Obamacare
insurance.
is meant for low-income
He has
people.
better health insurance than
Unfortunately,
me.
the Democrats have moved the goalposts.
My brother, I love him, but he's extremely lazy, so he doesn't want to work. He has like a nice little trailer that he bought. It's actually very. I wish I would have bought it. It's like a 2-bedroom. It looks like a 2-bedroom apartment. It's very nice, but he doesn't really work. He does like DoorDash on the side, just to earn enough money to pay his bills, which are like nothing. But he gets the Obamacare, the medical. Dude, he has amazing fucking medical. It's ridiculous how good it is. All government funded, aka you and I pay for it. He also gets food stamps. He's a single guy, no wife, no kids. He's 32 right now, my brother. He just doesn't want to work. He wants to smoke weed all day. And he also gets food stamps, like I said. And it's like $280 a month. He just goes in, buys steaks, burgers, cooks them up. Us working class people are fucking stupid.
Repealing and replacing the Affordable Care Act, something that President Trump wanted to do in his first term. He had promised, and as you know, time and time again, he was going to have a plan in 2 weeks, and there never was really a plan.
3 minutes.
There was the push to repeal it. John McCain, that infamous thumbs down moment there. I mean, look, grand scheme of things, Republicans have control of the House and Senate, and if Obamacare has been so bad, why has there been no effort in moving ahead with that and trying to find a solution where you wouldn't have to worry about these tax credits and these things that would hold
It's too
things
fucking
up.
complicated to probably deconstruct it and do something new.
The tape to 2022. Democrats allowed these COVID era tax credits to expire.
2008 was the last one, or 18, 35 days.
Laws, they were okay with letting these expire. They didn't do it on a permanent basis. And unfortunately, I think what the Democrats want to do is use this as a political issue against Republicans, and that's exactly what's happening here. And we need to be honest, right? These are plussed up subsidies from Obamacare. If they go away, the full subsidy isn't going to go away. It's just the plus up for high income earners. So that's who we're talking about here. And the Democrats have said premiums are going to skyrocket if this program goes away. I think we just need to be honest. The premiums are going to go up anyway. Premiums go up every year. It's just an unfortunate reality of the healthcare industry that needs substantial reform, mostly because of Obamacare.
Our healthcare system is fucking crazy, and it's ludicrously expensive, but it's also, if you can afford it, the best healthcare in the world. It's like a double-edged sword.
Healthcare any cheaper. Healthcare goes up every single year, and that's going to be the
Yeah,
case whether we extend these subsidies or not.
Okay, so the shutdown happens. We're closed for a couple of days, a week, maybe 2 weeks. I don't know if we get to 35 days like we saw the last time around, which was the longest shutdown. I mean, what should the priority one be once the government's functioning again here? If it comes to getting everybody to a table and finally agreeing, because you're right, I think Democrats and Republicans both see some danger in letting the government shut down. But with Republicans in control,
I think it's awesome.
What should they do? What should be priority one when they're back at it?
They don't do anything anyway except for spend their money on stupid shit.
How we get the government open again. It seems like both sides, they're dug in. They don't want to negotiate with each other. It's a really
We saw from Doge. All they do is take our money and spend it on whatever the fuck they want.
unfortunate situation. History shows us that the party that wants to shut the government down typically is the one blamed, and there's a lot of political blowback. So in this case, it's the Democrats willing to shut down the government. Hopefully there will be some feet to the fire to reopen the government in couple of days. I don't really see a path forward. It could be a couple weeks. But once the government is open again, they really need to focus on these year-long spending bills. That's the regular appropriations process for how we fund the government. We need to make sure it's obviously bipartisan, and we need to make sure we're spending less next year than we did this year. We're running $2 trillion annual deficits. It's unsustainable and unaffordable. So that really needs to be the focus once we get the government open again.
Yeah, I think a lot of people would agree with you on that. Just the sole fact that we get to this point, we get to the spring time and time again, and you wonder, will they or won't they? And I think that it paints the idea that government, whether you look at it from the left or the right, is broken. We're going to see where it goes from there. Tommy, I appreciate you joining us tonight from the National Taxpayers Union.
Thank you so much.
Did hold a vote earlier today.
1201, baby. The government is shut down. It is. Shut it down. It's down. It's shut down. It's not open.
So, now here we stand, October 1st.
Shut down in effect, baby. The government is shut down. It's not open.
It'll be up to the Senate in the morning to reconvene and see if they can work through some of the key issues.
We did it, people. The government is officially shut down.
We'll be listening tomorrow morning. And when I say tomorrow morning,
Fuck 'em.
I mean
who cares?
Wednesday morning. We'll be listening Wednesday morning for any key concessions that may come from lawmakers. The U.S. Senate did adjourn earlier Tuesday evening without reaching a deal to extend federal funding. So we are now talking about a Partial government shutdown that will have a range of effects on public services, employee furloughs, potential layoffs. Certain government activities will be impacted. Republicans had crafted a short-term measure to fund the government through November 21st, by the way. But Democrats insisted that the measure address their concerns on health care.
Which means giving illegal aliens health care that you and I had to pay for.
Cuts in President Trump's mega
So
bill passed this summer.
fuck them.
And extend tax credits that make health insurance premiums more affordable for millions of people who purchase through the marketplaces established by the Affordable Care Act. Republicans called that Democratic proposal a non-starter, and that's why we sit where we sit tonight. A partial government shutdown on this Wednesday.
Oh no. Was that my internet?
Morning.
Nope.
Neither side so far. Lapse in funding occurs. The law requires agencies to cease activity and furlough, quote, non-accepted employees. Accepted employees include those who work to protect life and property. They stay on the job, but don't get paid until after the shutdown ends.
Damn.
Associated Press.
Go work for a couple weeks with no pay at all.
Now,
Fuck that.
We will.
It's a nice retro check.
With any updates that happen early in the morning tomorrow. And again, as we record this, it is midnight, early Wednesday morning. I was talking with Fox News Radio's Ryan Schmelz earlier in the evening. I was asking him if anybody's staying on Capitol Hill tonight for any reason. He said no. For the most part.
Vegas lost 2-4.
I was talking to him about 2 hours ago. He said lawmakers were
Washington
on their way out, and the
4, Columbus
were on
3.
their way out as well. There was simply
This is all
no more work to
preseason
be
hockey.
done
I think
tonight.
the season starts this
We know
week.
that the Senate is expected to reconvene
Probably Thursday or Friday. NHL season
Wednesday
starts.
morning.
Damn, Montreal 5, Ottawa nothing. Shutout.
The big question is what happens next, and how quickly can an agreement be made?
Florida versus Tampa. Florida versus Florida. 3-2 Tampa. Oh, I forgot Utah has a team this year.
Republicans be able to reach any concessions with the Democrats?
What the fuck is Inter Miami
Perhaps will
CF?
a short-term funding measure be on the table tomorrow to fund the government through November 21st?
WNBA, nobody gives a shit.
Or will we eventually see a longer-term solution?
Let me look online and see
coming
if
through the pipeline? Again, neither
on Truth
side
Search or Trump
has
said
shown
anything.
Any signs of budging so far?
Nope.
If you've been watching the news today, you've likely heard that neither side
Let's
has
check
blinked,
Twitter.
and that remains the case as we are just past midnight now, Wednesday morning on the East Coast. All administrations in the government, by the way, do get some leeway to choose which services to freeze and which to maintain in a shutdown. The AP says that FBI investigators, CIA officers, air traffic controllers, and agents operating airport checkpoints will keep working. Programs that rely on mandatory spending also will generally continue during a shutdown.
7 hours ago, 6 minutes
We've also
ago.
heard that President Trump's
The government
immigration
shut down.
crackdown will continue as well. The time now about 5 minutes past midnight in the nation's capital. The government shutdown has officially commenced. We are going to continue to track this story closely in the coming days. Most of the analysts and experts that I've talked to, by the way, I asked them the question, does this feel like an hours-long shutdown? Does this feel like a days-long shutdown? Does it feel like a weeks-long shutdown? It's impossible to tell.
The United States government has
That's the
officially
general
taken
consensus.
effect.
So,
The United States government shutdown has
let's
officially
step
taken
away
effect
for
after a
our first
lawmaker failed to
commercial
reach
break
deal.
of the hour. Again, the story.
There's a picture he shared earlier.
Is that
Hakeem,
we have
you
officially
got
crossed midnight and the government
Shutdown
has
Schumer,
shut down.
Dollar Store
Turns out
Obama,
Democrats
nice
and
tall
Republicans
glass of
were unable to
Diet
come to an
Coke,
agreement.
2028 hat.
We'll be right back.
See, I'm not a fan of ice in my drink. I think ice is a big fucking scam. The drink's already cold, so why do you need ice? It just dilutes it. Ice is a scam. Don't ever get ice in your drink. And especially if you go to like a McDonald's or something like that, like the ice just sitting in like this metal container with hands all in it. You don't want ice. Ice is a scam. Sorry, we're closed. Let's go to latest. It keeps updating, so every time you go up, you're going to get fucking... There we go. 1 second, 1 second. 3 seconds. Alright, guys, so we are officially in a government shutdown, baby. Oh, God, the Olsen twins. How's the game Exodus coming from? The guy, a lot of people worked at BioWare, like the old Mass Effect people, like used to work on like the actual good games. They're all at the studio making like a new sci-fi game. Looks pretty cool. Oh Jesus! God, she is looks like a wet poodle. I actually made today. I made my homemade beef stew, which is I made the other day. It was fucking awesome. And today I made fresh tuna. I put in a bowl with chopped onions, celery, salt, pepper, Hellman's mayo, salt, pepper, mixed it all up. I got a pound of Cooper Sharp cheese, Italian bread. Oh, my Lord. Fucking amazing. Oh, that looks good. I might make that too, actually. It's better than McDonald's. So, nothing really popping off. I thought people would be more talking about the, yeah, Trump's back on Twitter posting stuff. Oh, look at this fucking crybaby. It was 2 hours ago.
Do not talk to me until I have had my coffee.
Just pooping. You know how I be. I'm hungry. Michael ate an entire family-sized chicken pot pie for lunch.
My man.
He's on a sales call.
Today, but I'm thrilled to sign a very historic executive order.
All right, guys, I think we're going to end it here. There's not really going on anymore.
In desperate need of intervention to get out of another Trump shutdown. That statement was just released at midnight Eastern time. Yes. So that's the first reaction we're getting from leaders. That was Minority Leader Schumer and Minority Leader.
After months of making life hard and more expensive, after months of making life harder and more expensive, Donald Trump and Republicans have now shut down the federal government because they do not want to protect the health care of the American people. False. It's for illegal aliens. Democrats remain ready to find a bipartisan path forward to reopen the government in a way that lowers costs and addresses the Republican health care crisis. False. He said premiums are going to go up no matter what, just how it goes in this country. But we need a credible partner period. Over the last few days, President Trump's behavior has become more erratic and unhinged. Instead of negotiating a bipartisan agreement in good faith, he is obsessively posting crazy deepfakes. They're not deepfakes, they're memes. The country is in desperate need of an intervention to get out of another Trump shutdown.
Like Kamala Harris, I'm hearing, also.
What a fucking loser, crying Chuck Schumer. Now it's Shutdown Schumer.
What little reaction?
Which is a great nickname to give him. Little boy Shutdown Schumer.
So we saw the response from the White House. We saw the response from
Yeah, they didn't get
Jeffries
much
and
more news
Schumer.
tonight. I think it's all
I'm just gonna, while we are sitting on this Capitol Hill shot here,
small
I'm gonna
talk
check
and
just see myself.
yeah, I
There's
look
been
on
any
Twitter.
posts
Yeah, it's nothing really going on. People are
on the president's Truth Social account.
Nah, Trump hasn't said anything yet. You know that fucker's still awake. You don't sleep. No.
I have not seen anything myself.
Last one was 3 hours ago. It was another meme at Jeffries.
We may have to wait until morning to
Yeah.
get an official reaction from the president, but as Hakeem Jeffries and Schumer said in that statement, the president has been posting some deepfake videos.
They're memes, not deepfakes.
The president also posted, by the way, earlier today on social media, a photo of 2 Trump 2028 hats on the Resolute desk with Schumer and Jeffries both looking on at them.
It's 12:12 a.m.
Trump 2028 hats.
Don't think we're getting much more
during their
information.
Oval Office meeting discussing what was at the time a looming shutdown.
Probably just going to end stream here, and I'll be
Reading the
back
statement from
later in the
Kamala
morning.
Harris, it
Oh,
says,
hold on.
President Trump and congressional Republicans
See what the cackler
just
had to
shut
say.
down the government because they refused to stop your health care costs from rising. Let me be clear. Republicans are in charge of the White House, the House, and the Senate. This is their shutdown, Kamala Harris says.
Who cares what she says? She lost. She's a fucking cackler. And she lost big time. Fucking loser.
We've been browsing the news wires here.
All right, guys. I'm going to end it
Any
here. It's already
reaction from
12:13 a.m. I'll be back in the morning.
GOP leaders. I'll be looking out for